Chapter 94. Second last said slowly while limping forward. A strange scene appeared on the battlefield that was supposed to be a fierce battle. She walked slowly while the white ghouls that surrounded her were even more cautious. They were all on guard and walking forward while hunching their bodies. Slowly, second last began to walk and jog. At the moment when she encountered the white ghouls, she suddenly sped up and sprinted. Her huge body moved nimbly and she dodged the sharp claws. She was like a loach that had darted into a school of fish. She leaned left and right and continued to move forward without being hindered by any obstacles. She dashed out of the white ghouls and headed straight for the white ghoul witch. The white ghoul witch's pale face was full of panic and it quickly retreated while roaring. It turned out that the white ghouls that it had ordered to stay at the edge of the pit and not participate in the battle were not there to watch the show, but to protect the white ghoul witch. The white ghouls roared and dashed forward. Under the night sky, the figure that was moving quickly seemed to have recovered. The big cat had cast aside its disguise and revealed its bloodthirsty fangs like a cheetah. Crack, crack, crack. Several clear and crisp sounds of bones could be heard, accompanied by the howling of the white ghoul witch. Jiang Shao was at a loss for who to face. There were white ghouls all around him. How could he persist? Big cat, hurry and come back. The ferocious big cat seemed to have heard Jiang Zhao's inner voice and scurried back with the white ghoul witch, followed by a group of white ghouls. She stepped on the edge of the pit and leaped up abruptly before jumping back to the center of the pit and landing heavily beside Jiang Shao. Huff, after flying for a while, Jiang Shao felt that he had been thrown out vertically. Jiang Shao was flustered while the big cat stomped its foot hard on the ground below, and its silver star slot lit up all of a sudden. Unlike her earth-shattering self-destruction just now, she did not detonate herself this time but the surroundings instead. Jiang Shao had seen that star technique before because Li Wei had used it before. Silver-quality star technique scorch. Compared to the scorch released by the woman in front of him, Li Wei's scorch was like setting off firecrackers, while second last's was like detonating a bomb. Flames soared into the sky, and heat waves spread everywhere. The white ghouls that had lost their minds and were chasing after the white ghoul witch's corpse were all sent flying. Their bodies were covered in wounds, and blood spurted from their mouth. Like cannonballs, they crashed heavily into the slope of the huge pit. Even the white ghouls created a big hole in the hard frozen ground. The creatures that had once threatened Jiang Zhao's life were annihilated by her with a simple move. No matter what, it was fine as long as he survived. Jiang Shao, who was still ascending, felt relieved, but he felt that something was amiss. Why was it getting higher and higher? When would this be over? I did escape the explosion, but isn't your strength a little too much? I wasn't killed by the explosion, I'm afraid I fell to my death. Finally, the upward momentum gradually slowed down and Jiang Zhao's figure fell from the sky. The waves of weightlessness made Jiang Zhao's heart pound so hard that it almost jumped out of his throat. It was too thrilling. I like this kind of life. I hate this feeling. I've gone crazy. The surging flames below scattered in all directions, and under the envelopment of the majestic star power, a circle of flames appeared. Second last raised her head and stared at Jiang Shao, who was falling from the sky with a murderous look on her face. She arched her legs and leaped up gracefully before grabbing Jiang Zhao's body. She then turned her body around cleverly and clamped his waist before landing heavily on the ground. As she let go of him, Jiang Shao staggered away from her. All he wanted now was to go back to school and play with the students of the same level as him. He didn't want to have anything to do with this big cat. You don't want to follow me? Second last asked again, while staring at Jiang Zhao's staggering figure. To be honest, she was standing in the deep pit surrounded by creatures of other dimensions that had been killed instantly. The white ghoul witch that had been blasted into a bloody mess was next to her feet. It was indeed very convincing for her to say such words at such a time. Jiang Shao, who had already steeled his heart, unbuttoned his tattered military uniform and handed it to second last. Jiang Shao said, "Put on your clothes." We'd better not be honest with each other. Second last was speechless. Jiang Shao was only 16 years old and his body was only 172 centimeters tall. He was still developing, but he didn't think that he could grow to a height of 2 meters in a few years. The tattered and blood-stained camouflage uniform seemed to have become a tight singlet on second last. Fortunately, because the military uniform was really tattered, she really put it on. As for the pants, it's okay, it's dark. Anyway, Jiang Shao wasn't interested in this big cat, and she didn't seem to care much about it either. Hence, the two of them decided to bear with it. Interestingly, her hair and eyebrows were still there. Could it be that they automatically turned into lava after she transformed into her body? While thinking about it, Jiang Shao was extremely busy. What was he busy with? Of course, he was plucking carrots. The white ghouls were blasted away by second last and blasted into the wall of the pit. Jiang Shao spent a lot of effort to pull them out one by one. While releasing Bell and Blessing to quickly recover his and second last's physical condition, Jiang Shao used his dagger to cut open the skulls of the white ghouls and search for star beads that might be there. Jiang Shao, second last said hoarsely and threw a star bead at him. Of course, she had investigated the prisoners and knew that the kid in front of her was called Jiang Xiaopi. However, when she introduced herself just now, Jiang Shao addressed her as Jiang Shao without using the word mischievous. Of course, she mistook Shao for Shao. Since the pronunciation was the same, Jiang Shao didn't notice it at all. He turned around and caught the star bead, which was clearly from the white ghoul which beneath second last's feet. The star bead was very valuable. Perhaps second last wasn't a person who valued money. Or maybe it was a reward for Jiang Shao for protecting her. He protected her and she solved all the crises for him. It was a rather worthwhile deal. However, what really made second last appreciate his talent and acknowledge him was the fact that Jiang Shao had used his life to buy time for her and used his special medical star technique to save her while she was on the verge of death. Jiang Shao had indeed pulled her back from the gates of hell. She really wanted to perish together with him just now. To her surprise, she could open her eyes again and see the familiar world again. Jiang Shao didn't say anything because it wasn't the time to be modest. He directly absorbed the white ghoul witch's star bead. Waves of star power surged into his body, and on his internal star map, Blessing and Decoy, they became silver quality level 1, 1/10. 10 brass quality white ghoul witch star beads could only be upgraded by one small level, and 100 of them could only be upgraded to gold quality. Jiang Shao could only rely on himself because the price of the star beads was not something he could afford. Fortunately, as an awakened, he could still make a living by selling white ghoul corpses and fighting for ordinary star bead. Otherwise, Jiang Shao and Han Jiangxue, who were still in school, really wouldn't know how to survive. Jiang Shao suddenly thought of a problem. If my parents, whom I've never met, die, the country should give me some financial subsidies, right? Could it be that my family isn't as poor as I thought? It's impossible for me to be rich, but I should be able to eat and dress normally, right? Han Jiangxue didn't come to the snowfield to work, as I imagined. No, I have to ask her when I get back. Jiang Shao harvested a total of 26 star beads and enjoyed the joy of the harvest. He turned around and wanted to give second last half of the star beads, only to see that she had already climbed to the edge of the pit and was crouching on the ground. The cold wind blew her long hair, and it floated forward. Under the dim sky, her deep black eyes were faintly discernible, like a female leopard waiting for an opportunity to hunt. "Keep up," second last said in a hoarse voice. She didn't turn around and simply walked forward quickly. Jiang Shao hurriedly followed her. He was very clear about his own position. He was a healer. With a team, he could make the team exert powerful combat power. Chapter 95. Sniff, sniff, second last sniffed, and stared at the dense snow forest in the distance with her long and narrow eyes. She then stepped on the snow and walked forward quickly. Jiang Shao was a little dumbfounded. Am I a disabled person? Why can't I see anything? Can't I smell it? Can't I hear it? Following second last, Jiang Shao tiptoed forward. Due to the fact that he had given his camouflage uniform to second last, Jiang Shao was wearing a tattered cashmere sweater at this moment. Under the chilly wind, Jiang Shao felt extremely cold. Jiang Shao really couldn't control the sound of his teeth chattering. Hence, he had no choice but to grit his teeth. Clearly, after the strenuous exercise, his hot body gradually cooled down, and what awaited Jiang Shao was a cold and a fever. Jiang Shao wanted to give himself a blessing, but he didn't want to alert the enemy when he saw how serious second last was. Finally, he heard the sound of something tearing. Stunned for a moment, Jiang Shao continued to move forward, only to see that 4 white ghouls were biting a human. The human did not resist at all and seemed to be unconscious. However, even then, the white ghoul's fangs and claws still couldn't penetrate the human's skin, which was abnormally hard like steel. This time, second last, who was in front, did not release her star map. Instead, she moved forward gently and clawed her hands. She stepped on the snow with her bare feet, but the sound of the white ghouls tearing the corpses apart was cleverly covered up. Whoosh! Jiang Zhao's vision became blurry and he saw that the big cat, which was initially lying prostrate, immediately darted forward and ripped the necks of 2 white ghouls with its sharp claws. At the instant that the big cat landed on the ground, it grabbed the remaining 2 white ghouls with its claws and lifted them up before smashing them onto the ground. She picked one up with her left hand and twisted its head off forcefully. She then stepped forward and crushed the head of the other white ghoul. Jiang Shao swallowed his saliva and thought, "It's too bloody and violent. What do you mean by chopping vegetables? What do you mean by reducing dimensions?" Jiang Shao could fight with the white ghouls if he worked hard, but he couldn't kill them in seconds so easily. Second last turned around and looked at the mercenary beneath her feet. His clothes had long been destroyed and his body was made of steel. What made people sad was that there were no injuries on his body at all. Second last sensed the condition of her body and thought about it for a while. She then slammed her knee against the mercenary's chest forcefully and clenched her fists before punching the mercenary's head in a frenzy. Jiang Shao was finally liberated. He gave himself a blessing and warmed up. In his mind, he was thinking about second last's ingenious sneak attack just now. Being able to do it so quietly in the snow was really amazing. Besides, she had discovered the commotion from afar. Jiang Shao couldn't be more familiar with her hand. She didn't have long fingernails, which meant that she didn't use her fingernails to cut off the white ghouls' heads. Is that some kind of star technique? Could it make her fingers as sharp as a blade? Back then, when she attacked the mercenary, she made the sound of steel rubbing against each other and even produced sparks. She reckoned that she must have relied on that magical star technique. Jiang Shao snapped back to his senses and watched as second last punched the mercenary's face forcefully. At the instant that her fist came into contact with his head, a metallic sound could be heard. It's like 2 pieces of metal colliding with each other. This world is too terrifying. Jiang Shao didn't see second last's iron fist break through the mercenary's defense, but he saw that the mercenary's head was slowly being deformed as the left and right sides of his head slowly caved in. Due to the fact that the mercenary's defense was too strong, she couldn't smash it downwards and could only swing it left and right. This lunatic. The iron fist was like a sledgehammer swinging left and right with a dong-dong sound. Jiang Shao even thought to himself, 80, 80, 80. While Big Cat was swinging its hammer, Jiang Shao found the corpses of the white ghouls and started doing what he was used to doing. There's nothing more delightful than picking up corpses. If there is, it must be looting. Out of the 4 white ghouls, Jiang Shao harvested 3 star beads and turned around to see that the lunatic was still smashing the corpses. The most frightening thing was not the sudden silence. It was the stillness of the night sky that was filled with only the dull thuds. Jiang Shao carefully changed the topic and said, "Thank you for saving me from the collapsed cave." Second last simply sat on the mercenary's body and continued smashing it left and right, as if she hadn't heard Jiang Zhao's voice. Instead, she was competing with the body beneath her. "I remember that when you first went to prison, you paid the most attention to me. I think you're suspecting me. Why did you still save me?" Jiang Shao asked. Second last stopped abruptly and turned around while her fists trembled slightly. She then glared at Jiang Shao menacingly. Jiang Shao shivered in fear and frantically said, "Be nicer to me, big cat. I just saved you and gave you some clothes to wear. I'm almost as good as Zhuo in this world of ice and snow." Second last retracted her menacing gaze and looked at the corpse beneath her again before continuing to smash it with her fists. Jiang Shao had a peculiar expression on his face and thought, "It sounds painful. I reckon that her fists are also covered with star power and she's using a star technique. Otherwise, her hands would have been crushed. Why did she save me? Is it because criminals have human rights too?" Looking at second last's maniacal and menacing expression, Jiang Shao didn't think that it was because of that. "Is it because I'm the biggest suspect and she might be able to get some information from me?" Extorting a confession seemed to be something that second last would do. Or, did she simply pull me along because it was convenient for her? Jiang Shao simply felt glad that she had tried to subdue him in the pit just now. She reckoned that she should have approved of him, so Jiang Shao was temporarily free from suspicion. The accident this time was indeed too coincidental. The group of people lined up to launch a sneak attack on the snowfield in an attempt to make the snowfield collapse, while Jiang Zhao's team happened to barge into the restricted area and approached the edge of the military base. It was no wonder that there would be such a misunderstanding. Staring at second last who was swinging her hammer, Jiang Shao continued to ask, "He's a Russian? He seems to be speaking Russian." Yeah. The maniacal second last finally gave a response. "I've always thought that China and Russia have a good relationship. At least, it's not as tense as it is with Europe and America," Jiang Shao said tentatively. "It's just a mercenary group that has no beliefs. They don't care about nationality or race," second last answered. She finally felt a little better because the mercenary's cheeks were sunken and he reckoned that he would never wake up again. "Then you guys know, huh?" Jiang Shao was slightly stunned as several pieces of information popped up in his head. Slaying a person, skill point +1. Skill point 3. Slaying a person? What does that mean? There are skill points for killing awakened too? Back then, when Jiang Zhao's team hunted for the white ghouls, they obtained the brass quality first kill, the brass quality 10 kills, and even the brass quality 100 kills. Now, he and second last were considered a team, and they finally killed the mercenary under second last's frenzied attack. Galaxy quality first kill, skill point +5. Skill point 8. Gosh, only 5 skill points are given in the Galaxy stage? Jiang Shao, who was lamenting in his head, stopped abruptly because leapfrogging, skill point +5. Skill point 13. Oh my god, the 5 points are really worth it. At the thought of how Jiang Shao obtained the 5 points, how he tried his best to save the imprisoned second last, and how he risked his life to protect her, the 5 points seemed to be too little. A total of 10 points would be enough for him to upgrade any brass quality star technique or basic technique to silver quality. Overall, it's not too bad. After all, it was a team battle and Jiang Shao wasn't fighting alone. He wondered if there would be an increase in rewards or a decrease in rewards for team battles. During the battle just now, Jiang Shao might have been using a dagger, but his basic technique, dagger mastery, was still at brass quality level 5, and had not been upgraded. After thinking about it, Jiang Shao felt that his dagger techniques had not improved much. Although he was holding onto a dagger, he was still fighting with his bare hand. If the battle were to continue, Jiang Shao could be extravagant and spend 5 points on dagger mastery. That way, Jiang Shao would be able to deal more damage to the enemies and the white ghouls. If the battle ended quickly, Jiang Shao would definitely be frugal. After all, brass quality was the most basic level. As long as Jiang Shao worked hard, he would be able to upgrade his dagger mastery. According to the information, you only lit up 3-star slots, second last said in a hoarse voice. Chapter 96. Kacha. Jiang Shao seemed to have heard the sound of steel cracking. He looked over, only to see that the mercenary's head had finally been smashed by second last's bombardment. Jiang Shao did not have enough strength and neither did his dagger. However, second last's fist that contained her star technique was 100 times stronger than the dagger. You only lit up 3-star slots, but I saw at least 5-star techniques, second last said as she inserted her hands into the broken head and pulled it apart forcefully. No, it's 6. A child in the Stardust stage can't possibly have such defensive power. You also have the white ghoul's endurance. Second last finally tore the mercenary's broken head apart and used her long fingers to pick up the star bead. Show me your star map. Second last seemed to be very organized. Every time she completed a priority task, she would move on to the next one. At this moment, she finally dealt with the mercenary and turned to look at Jiang Shao. She then asked the question that she had been thinking about for a long time. I don't want to light it up, Jiang Shao said casually. Do you think you have the right to refuse? Second last looked at Jiang Shao and pinched the mercenary's star bead in her palm, after which waves of star power immediately surged into her large body. Jiang Shao could sense the star power that was stirring around him, which was as dense as a river and flowing in the air. Jiang Shao frantically began to absorb the star power. He had the passive skill, Star Power Abundance, which allowed him to absorb the star power in the air. She did not ask about the ownership of the mercenary's star bead, perhaps because she did not care about Jiang Zhao's opinion. Or perhaps she thought that giving a galaxy stage star bead to a child in the Stardust stage would be a waste of resources. In short, she absorbed the star bead. There were some things that Jiang Shao could fight for, but there were some that he couldn't. Second last was not Xia Yan or Han Jiangshu. Second last was not one of them. Jiang Shao felt extremely conflicted, but in the end, he dared not ask for it. Second last sat on the corpse's chest with the broken head beneath her, surrounded by layers of star power that were rippling out. Just like that, she stopped asking questions, and her body stopped moving. It was as if even her breathing was very light. She was like a statue, frozen on the spot. Jiang Shao was also replenishing his star power and enjoying the dreamy feeling. If he could continue to cultivate star power in such an environment, the awakened in China would probably be able to make a huge leap. After a long time, Jiang Shao opened his eyes comfortably, only to see that the sculpture was trembling slightly. Even though they had gone through thick and thin together, Jiang Shao still couldn't feel any sense of security from this wild cat. Her temperament was indeed a little fickle. In the pit, when she reached out to pull him up, there was a rare hint of softness in her pitch-black eyes. When she tried to take Jiang Shao in as her disciple, her face was full of praise and approval. When she threw the white ghoul witch star bead to Jiang Shao, she had already regained her composure. When she killed the white ghouls and the mercenaries, her face was full of murderous intent and her eyes were sharp and menacing. She was also very aggressive when she asked Jiang Shao questions. Jiang Shao could tolerate a woman's emotional ups and downs throughout the day, but he couldn't tolerate a woman who changed so much in just 10 minutes. He probably couldn't even be friends with such a woman. Since she was willing to sacrifice her life for her beliefs, he reckoned that he would only be able to tie the relationship between the two of them if he became her comrade in arms. Jiang Shao retreated quietly. He couldn't be sure what she would do when faced with such a fickle temperament. She was not an obedient golden retriever that loved to laugh, but a ferocious and wild cheetah on the grassland. Just like the white ghoul witch, such a person was not suitable to be a star pet. The ferocity in her bones made it easy for her to kill her master. After taking more than 10 steps back, Jiang Shao finally found out why her body was trembling and why she was muttering subconsciously. As the woman breathed out wisps of white mist, Jiang Shao once again felt the majestic star power rippling out. She actually broke through? Jiang Shao was just a rookie in the Stardust stage who wasn't familiar with the high-level gods. For second last, who was in the Galaxy stage, Jiang Zhao's perception of her star power was rather vague. However, he knew that the surging star power was not something he could compare to. Hence, at this moment, Jiang Shao had no idea if she had surpassed the early Galaxy stage, the late Galaxy stage, the peak of the Galaxy stage, or the legendary Starfall stage. Jiang Shao only hoped that one day in the future, he would be able to do the same and become a formidable awakened powerhouse. So, there are 2 star techniques in each of the 3 star slots, right? Second last stood up slowly and glanced at him with glistening eyes. Jiang Shao subconsciously took a step back and raised his right hand, after which a beam of light landed on second last's body. Second last's face stiffened and her body that had just stopped trembling began trembling again. While the woman was moaning hoarsely, Jiang Shao said, "Be friendly, soldier. Even if you don't treat me as a comrade and forget that we've been through thick and thin, I'm still a Chinese citizen. Please protect me and not hurt me." Second last's eyes widened slightly. Jiang Zhao's analysis was extremely accurate and his words were sharp. After saying that, her mentality did change a little. She lowered her head to look at the stubborn Jiang Shao and said, "You're very interesting." "I don't want to be interesting. I want to walk out of the snowfield safely. Or rather, I want to leave your side safely. However, the problem is that I probably won't be able to walk out of this snowfield without you. I feel terrible. I'm supposed to be the happiest and everyone will treat me well. But what happened in the end?" Now Jiang Shao only felt a little sad. Second last turned around and looked at the snow forest in the distance. "You have a strong heart, an analytical mind, and smart means." Jiang Shao didn't continue the conversation because he didn't know where it was going to lead. "You only have 9 star slots, but you already have 6 star techniques when you were in the Stardust stage. Without imprint, it's impossible for Bell to only shuttle between our bodies. Without endurance, you won't be able to withstand that kind of damage. Besides, I've seen the decoy that you've been hiding." Jiang Shao remained silent. Her analysis was right. At this critical juncture, he couldn't hide his abilities. According to the information, your green glow and blessing are both silver star techniques that have transcended the quality. Second last slowly turned her head around and glanced at Jiang Shao from the corner of her eye. "Perhaps God has opened a window for you when he closes a door. I'm very cold. Can we go back?" Jiang Shao asked. "You've been staying by my side and didn't take away the star bead in my head or escape." Second last ignored Jiang Shao and tidied her messy hair. She continued in a hoarse voice, "You stayed behind and didn't forget to use the decoy to lure the white ghouls away even though you were covered in wounds. Even in the face of death, you didn't abandon me. Is this a confession?" Jiang Shao almost couldn't help but want to be mischievous. However, after thinking about the consequences, he swallowed his words. Jiang Shao said, "Since I've saved you, can you promise me something? I don't want others to know that I have 2 star techniques in each star slot." At the critical juncture of life and death, Jiang Shao really had no choice but to reveal his 2 star techniques in 1 star slot. Second last did not answer and instead said, "Joining the Wasteland Reclaimers isn't the only way to make your parents proud." Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. Second last then strode forward. Jiang Shao followed her, and the woman's hoarse voice sounded again. "Have you heard of the Guardians of the Night? Follow me and I'll teach you everything." What does that mean? Is she threatening me? Even if I have 2 star techniques in 1 star slot, I'm just a rookie in the Stardust stage with 9 star slot. Huaxia will never lack talents, let alone talents, Jiang Shao said. Why are you so persistent? Second last licked her lips and said in a hoarse voice, strength can be nurtured, but some qualities are difficult to cultivate. Jiang Shao clutched his chest with one hand. Oh no. It feels like I'm having a heart attack. This body is only 16 years old. I can't fall in love at such a young age. I can't fall in love with such a wildcat. Chapter 97. Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not? Everyone, the third river. Qing Mei, wow, Xiaopi is the best. Sprinkle flowers 59 Tulong Street. More people will be able to see our story. Hong Yen, Mr. Yu Liao, more and more people will witness my love for you. Mr. Yu Liao was speechless. Hong Yen, you obviously love me very much too. There's no reason why you can't love me. As long as you're not weak, why should we miss out, Qing Mei? I'm crying. What about you guys? Mr. Yu Liao, Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not, what's the third river? Qing Mei, I've been ignored just like that 59 Tulong Street. I seem to have heard the sound of my heart breaking again. Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. The first river is the love and support of readers. The second river is the guidance and promotion of Yuan Jingda. The third river is the platform provided by Yuewen Group. Hong Yen, simp bis. Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. If I don't really like recommendation votes, who would be willing to be a simp? Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. Everyone, the third river. Cutie Bai, what's the third river? Zhuwen, Heilongjiang, Songhua River, Wasili River? Zhuwu, brother, you're really knowledgeable. Chinese citizen Elena, why not the Yangtze River, Pearl River, or Yarlung Zongbua River? Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. The first river is the love and support of readers. The second river is the guidance and promotion of Yuan Jingda. The third river is the platform provided by Yuewen Group. Zhuwen, Zhuwu, Cutie Bai, Chinese citizen Elena. Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. Second last, the third river. Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. Second last, are you there? Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. Second last, reply me. Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not. Second last, do you want to know what the third river represents? Omega, second last. No, get lost. Chapter 98. You were attacked and returned to the prison. When you rolled on the ground, I saw the armlet that was exposed, Jiang Shao said after thinking about it for a while. It looks very exquisite. Second last said, that's the symbol of the guardians of the night. Jiang Shao took the opportunity to ask, didn't you guys appear in a group of 4? I only saw you and that man. Later on, you fought alone. Second last answered calmly, there used to be 4 of us. This mercenary's star technique attributes are destined to make him more effective in team battles. We have to lure him out. Jiang Shao continued to ask, what are these guys trying to do in China? The Snowfield base in Jiannan village is rich in resources and in a stable state. They are contributing basic star beads to the country all the time. The development here is very high and it's also a training base for the low-level awakened. Some people don't want to see such a stable dimensional space continue to exist. After hearing second last's answer, Jiang Shao sighed deeply. He managed to obtain such information because of second last's attempt to rope him in. There was a deeper meaning behind her words, and he felt that she was undoubtedly trying to destroy the snowfield. Hence, Jiang Zhao's deduction and analysis were correct. The snowfield dimensional space could really collapse. Why are they causing trouble? Are they here to kill the low-level awakened here? Jiang Shao said pretentiously. The benefits don't seem to be that high. Second last suddenly stopped in her tracks and Jiang Shao almost bumped into her back. Second last said in a hoarse voice, you're using your wits in the wrong place. Jiang Shao scratched his head and chuckled. How can I make the snowfield collapse? What exactly are you guys protecting? So, second last said as she turned around and looked down at Jiang Shao. You have to follow me. Let's talk about it after the college entrance examination. Jiang Shao took a step back. Before they became familiar with each other, Jiang Shao decided to be less mischievous. Like I said, it's a waste of time. Second last was wearing a tight camouflage uniform and looked rather comical. However, she didn't seem to realize it as she still had a stern expression on her face. Jiang Shao couldn't help but chuckle. We're a team of 4, and the team members are very nice to me. I have to send them off no matter what. I can't delay their future because of me, Jiang Shao replied obediently. Second last seemed to have finally heard something reliable from him. She nodded and said, I'll wait for you for 9 months. What? Pregnant? I can't have children. Jiang Shao pursed his lips and said, I'm just saying that I'll consider it. I haven't seen the beautiful world outside yet. I still want to go to university. Are you telling me to stay with you in the snow after I graduate from high school? As soon as Jiang Shao finished speaking, he knew that he was in trouble. It was over. His true nature had been exposed. Would she tear him apart with her claws? Jiang Shao subconsciously took 2 steps back and looked at the beast in front of him carefully, feeling extremely regretful. To her surprise, second last did not get angry. Instead, she smirked. It was the first time Jiang Shao saw a smile on his cold face. Although it was very slight, it was indeed a smile. Jiang Shao had had enough of this temperamental and fickle woman. There's no pattern at all. I can't figure it out at all. Please be like a human. The beautiful world, ha! Second last murmured as she turned around slowly and strode forward. Jiang Shao didn't know why she was so amused. What's wrong with the beautiful world? Is it that funny? Second last muttered that word repeatedly and pondered over it with interest. After a while, she suddenly said, There are many branches and teams in the Guardians of the Night. I'm not the one who stays in the snow. Jiang Zhao's interest was piqued. He frantically asked, What do you mean? I wander around the various dimensional spaces and am above every Guardians of the Night to provide them with help. For example now, second last said in a hoarse voice. Are you a firefighter? Jiang Shao immediately reacted. They should have heard about the attack in the snowfield long ago, so they rushed over immediately to participate in the protection mission. However, since you've heard about it in advance, why did you continue to allow the snowfield to be open? Do you really not treat the low-level Chinese cultivators as humans? Are our lives not important? Jiang Shao wanted to say something but hesitated. Since you guys knew about it in advance, why? If we close it, they might not come anymore. Second last was smart enough to understand what Jiang Shao meant. It's impossible to close it, not even for a minute or a second. We can't afford to suffer such a loss. Jiang Shao had been there 3 times, but he had never seen any official team hunting for starbead. He reckoned that they might have a special route and location. Jiang Shao nodded and said, That's true. Even if we can close it for a while, we can't close it forever. That would be fulfilling the enemy's wish. Okay. You don't have to go to college. Come and look for me in 9 months. Jiang Shao was about to go crazy. Do you even know how to chat? If not for the fact that I can't beat you, I would have long. Second last suddenly stopped in her tracks and Jiang Shao immediately stopped nagging and wondered, does this woman have some mind-reading star technique? Second last twitched her nose and sniffed gently, after which her expression grew sullen. As a blind and deaf person, Jiang Shao had no idea what was going on at all. He frantically asked, What's the matter? There's a smell of blood and it's very quiet. This place has been breached, second last said as she strode forward. Jiang Shao frantically followed her. This place has been breached? Where am I? I only know that I'm in a snowfield. The 2 of them walked forward quickly for dozens of seconds, and Jiang Shao finally saw a tragic scene. His heart sank to the bottom all of a sudden. The environment that was supposed to be full of snow and trees was extremely terrifying at this moment. There were mud walls everywhere and mud pillars in different postures that were like giant pythons that filled the entire area. What was even more terrifying was that there were headless corpses tied to the soil pillars that were raised high in the air. Some of the corpses were wrapped around their waists, some had their chests pierced, and some were even buried in the mud pillars with only their thighs exposed. They died in different ways, but the only similarity was that their heads were separated from their bodies. Some of their heads were torn apart and thrown on the ground like garbage, while some were headless. Fresh blood was splattered on the snow and mud, giving off a strong smell of blood. Leaving their corpses in the wilderness was probably the most humiliating way for a soldier to die. The battle has just ended. There will be a large group of white ghouls coming. Hurry up, said Second Last as she scurried into the horrifying purgatory made of snow, blood, and mud. The soldiers there were all dressed differently, including the guardians of the night who were dressed in black, the Chinese soldiers who were dressed in camouflage, and the enemies who were dressed in mercenary uniforms. After a rough calculation, he reckoned that China should have suffered the least losses in terms of numbers. However, Jiang Shao didn't think that China had won. Otherwise, the stronghold wouldn't have been abandoned. Or could it be that they were also afraid of the white ghouls and thus evacuated? Jiang Zhao's mind raced, and he followed Second Last into a cave. Along the way, he saw the hellish scene again. There were corpses all over the ground and the walls were covered in blood and flesh. So, is this what this world should look like? Second Last had a sullen expression on her face because she couldn't find any signs of life at all. Information was the precursor to everything, which made her a little annoyed. Change your clothes, Second Last said as she walked towards a tall and burly mercenary and quickly removed his clothes. Mercenary uniform? Jiang Shao asked frantically. Yes. Second Last tore apart the tight camouflage and quickly put on the mercenary uniform. She then looked around and picked up a tattered and blood-stained mask. The clothes were easy to find, but the masks were difficult to find because their brains were basically dug out after they died and their star beads were taken away. What's the plan? Jiang Shao asked. Do you speak Russian? Second Last asked in a muffled voice. No, Jiang Shao answered immediately. Okay. After you go back to school, learn a few foreign languages and just practice speaking. Pay attention to correct your pronunciation. I'll check and accept it in 9 months, Second Last said, not disappointed. Oh dear, this is bad. There's a pile of homework in school. I came to the snowfield and someone gave me homework too? Besides, did I agree to it? Why is it already 9 months? You're too overbearing, aren't you? You really think too highly of yourself. I have to get into a university far away from you. Chapter 99. Unfortunately, when Jiang Shao walked out of the cave with Second Last, a strong wind started blowing in the snowfield again. The strong wind blew the snow all over the sky, hindering Jiang Zhao's movement. Fortunately, Jiang Shao had already put on his clothes. He had changed into his mercenary uniform and put on a black mask. Since we've formed a temporary team, I should familiarize myself with your star technique, Jiang Shao said. Yours. Second Last's hoarse voice was simple and clear. She then looked at Jiang Shao who was struggling to move and reached out to pull him up the slope. Jiang Shao stepped on the boulder and said loudly, You know, there are 6 star techniques, namely Green Glow, Endurance, Blessing, Decoy, Bell, and Imprint. Second Last did not say anything and simply continued to walk forward in the thick snow. Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. Did I get tricked? Did I trick myself? Are you afraid? Jiang Shao said, You, shoo. Second Last suddenly bent down and moved forward quickly. Jiang Shao followed the trail of snow that she had passed and quickly followed her. Bang! Almost at the same time, a gunshot sounded in the distance. The gunshot seemed to be a signal, and immediately afterwards, gunshots sounded one after another. Even though the snow and wind were strong, they could not stop the penetrating sound. The two of them followed the sound of the gunshots and walked forward for tens of seconds. Jiang Shao heard some roars. Jiang Shao hid behind second last and looked forward carefully. Huh! Jiang Shao exclaimed softly, but second last grabbed the back of his collar and pulled him up. She then pressed him onto the snow beside her and made him lie down. Jiang Shao thought to himself, please treat me like a human, look carefully. Second last pressed her hand on Jiang Zhao's head and adjusted the angle of his head. The two of them lay in the snow quietly and looked at the chaotic battlefield in the distance. There were not only mercenaries and the guardians of the night, but also many Chinese soldiers in camouflage uniforms. Jiang Shao also saw a mercenary hiding behind a mud wall. There were a few small holes in the mud wall so that he could observe what was in front of him. 1, 2, 3. There were 8 enemies. They should be 2 teams. The 2 mercenaries who are using the mud wall star technique are our primary targets, second last continued. Jiang Shao carefully observed the formation and saw that there were 3 people standing in a triangular formation at the back of the mercenary team. 2 of the mercenaries were constantly building mud walls to cut off the battlefield. Behind the 2 of them, a mercenary was on high alert. He didn't make a move, as if he knew what his duty was. The mud wall rose rapidly with the help of their star techniques, and the 2 of them seemed to be creating a maze that blocked the bullets of the Chinese soldiers while surrounding the guardians of the night. The other 3 mercenaries were at the front of the maze, hiding behind the mud wall and observing through the hole that their companions had left behind. They used their long-range star techniques and continuously tore the Chinese guards apart with mud snake. There were 2 mercenaries fighting on their own, and they were facing 2 members of the Guardians of the Night. This was an unfair battle. The 2 mercenaries were not fighting alone. All kinds of mud hands and spikes would suddenly appear on the mud wall to interfere with and even kill the Night Watcher. Give the order, Jiang Shao said frantically. Jiang Shao said frantically. While second last was speaking, he saw 2 Chinese soldiers being pierced by the mud snakes that emerged from the snow. The cruel scene infuriated Jiang Shao. I'm not sure what type of person is guarding behind the 2 rules-awakened mercenaries. Under normal circumstances, he's probably the strongest in the team, second last said frantically. Second last wasn't anxious at all. She spoke in a hoarse voice and seemed to be consciously teaching Jiang Shao. What do you want me to do? Jiang Shao asked quickly. I'll tear that iron triangle apart. Look at me. When I attack, I need your blessing, second last said as she stood up slowly. Jiang Shao asked, give it to the mercenary guarding at the back of the team? Very good, second last said calmly, seemingly satisfied with Jiang Zhao's comprehension ability. She stood up and walked forward step by step, as if she was deliberately trying to attract the attention of the enemy. She walked slowly and staggered a little, swaying from side to side under the cold wind, as if she were severely injured. Jiang Shao lay prone on the snow slope and looked down secretly. However, second last's footsteps were messed up, and she tilted her body before falling straight down. Her body rolled along the snow slope continuously until she reached the bottom of the snow slope. She then stopped rolling and lay on her back in the snow, motionless for a long time. %yen #@#. A rough male voice spoke in Russian, which Jiang Shao couldn't understand. At the next moment, a mud snake emerged from beneath second last's feet and wrapped around her ankle before dragging her towards the center of the mud wall maze. She wouldn't leave even if he hit her or scolded her. He dragged her away. The bullets scattered and landed on the snow beside second last. Jiang Shao was terrified. He had actually forgotten that there was such a risk. Oh no, second last seems to have been shot in the shoulder? Did she get shot? What made Jiang Zhao's heart palpitate was that second last seemed to have really fainted and didn't make any sound. This person is ruthless. She's ruthless to her enemies and even more ruthless to herself. Jiang Shao didn't know how to describe second last. At this moment, he was full of respect for her. In the rain of bullets, the mud snake sped up and quickly dragged second last's massive body behind the mud wall. Jiang Shao also knew that second last couldn't speak. Since she could find such a suitable mercenary outfit, it meant that there were mercenaries with such a physique. However, he reckoned that there probably weren't any women with such a physique. The mud wall was like a beast that suddenly split apart and opened its mouth to swallow second last. Finally, she was dragged into the safe area. What made Jiang Zhao's heart skip a beat was the fact that one of the guardians of the night actually dashed into the maze together with second last despite the rain of bullets from his companions and the mud snakes and thorns from the enemies. Whoosh! The mud snake suddenly sped up and pulled second last. At this moment, second last, who was lying down, arched her right leg and stomped on the ground forcefully. Rumble! Flames soared into the sky and the explosions engulfed second last's body, shattering the mud snake on her left ankle and the mud wall beside her. At the next moment, a massive figure dashed out of the flames. Like a ghost floating in the dark night, the massive figure was extremely agile and dashed towards the two rules-awakened mercenaries. Yes, her position was close enough. Besides, she couldn't continue pretending. After all, the guardians of the night behind her might kill her. Second last's massive body wandered in the middle of the maze and climbed over the walls and ditches like she was walking on flat ground. She began tearing apart the enemies from the inside and soon arrived in front of the iron triangle. The two rules-awakened mercenaries got a great shock and hollered loudly while using their star techniques in a frenzy, almost blinding Jiang Shao. At the instant that the mercenary at the back attacked, a beam of light landed on his body. Silver quality star technique * blessing. Second last's ghostly figure wandered in the night sky and she suddenly curled up her legs, after which she tapped the tip of her toes on the mud snake that brushed past her legs. With that, her massive body shuttled quickly and went straight for the vital parts. Her hands were in the shape of claws and a silver star slot was vaguely visible in the star map. When a rules awakened got close to a melee fighter, the consequences would be obvious. In Jiang Zhao's line of sight, her figure flashed past the two mercenaries and their heads flew into the air. The headless bodies of the two mercenaries were still standing upright in the snow. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. Jiang Shao was slightly dumbfounded, however. Second last's attack did not end. She flipped her body in midair and lay on her back. She then extended her long legs and stepped on the mercenary's face and chest, causing him to fall to the ground. Due to the momentum, she used the mercenary as a skateboard and stepped on his body to glide forward. She stepped on the mercenary's chest with her left foot and lifted her right foot slightly before stepping on his face. Starlight flickered on her body, and a series of explosions appeared under her feet again. The skateboard burst into flames and heat waves surged beneath her feet. Chapter 100. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. I'm rich. Jiang Shao finally knew how to earn skill points. How? Cozy up to her. Second last's thighs are really thick and long. Isn't it too comfortable? So sweet, accompanied by the sounds of explosions under second last's feet, the sound of the Chinese soldiers firing their weapons disappeared instantly. It was because several black figures had dashed forward. It's the guardians of the night. The tough mud wall had lost the support of star power and turned into ordinary frozen soil. Under the powerful force of the guardians of the night, it shattered. When one's opponent broke free from the rules and started demolishing everything in the maze, the game was indeed unplayable. Several dark figures dashed into the maze and continuously broke through the walls. Finally, they found their companions and joined in the encirclement of the 5 mercenaries. The mud wall had lost its life and could no longer be the home ground of the mercenaries. Feeling helpless, the mercenaries had no choice but to use their star techniques to resurrect the mud wall again. 2 of the mercenaries even had that star technique, but the effects were greatly reduced compared to the 2 mercenaries who had died. Besides, the Guardians of the Night had already closed in, and they no longer had a stable output environment. Jiang Shao couldn't help but secretly praise the 2 mercenaries for their powerful star technique. They protected their teammates and toyed with their opponent. What made Jiang Shao even more amazed was Second Last's sharp eyesight and sharp assassination skills. She was practically a god. Second Last finally stopped gliding and the corpse under her feet was already badly mutilated. She leaned down and pulled out the star bead from the mercenary's brain. It seemed that she wasn't lying. The mercenary that she lured out alone was indeed the strongest. His body was like steel, and his defense was extremely strong. Indeed, he could cause a lot of trouble for the soldiers in the snowfield. In comparison, although the mercenaries had strong offensive methods, their defense was no different from that of ordinary people. The Guardian of the Night who was chasing Second Last was a little dumbfounded too. He stopped abruptly and watched as Second Last took out the star bead, wondering if he should attack. Second Last turned around and pierced 3 fingers into her left arm. She then extracted the bullet and threw it onto the ground, seemingly unbothered by the wound on her arm and the blood that was flowing out. The Guardians of the Night were a little bewildered, but Second Last raised her head and looked at the hill in the distance. The Guardian of the Night did not turn around and simply stared at Second Last warily. Until now, he still hadn't figured out Second Last's identity. At the next moment, a white ray of medical light leaped from the side of the Guardians of the Night and plunged into Second Last's body, rapidly healing her bleeding wound. Jiang Shao. Second Last murmured softly in a hoarse voice, seemingly more and more satisfied with Jiang Shao. Be it the timing and accuracy of Jiang Zhao's use of the star technique, blessing, or bell, they all demonstrated Jiang Zhao's ability to execute and judge. Second Last picked up the 2 heads that rolled on the ground and said, "Second Last." Her unique voice, coupled with her huge body, instantly confirmed her identity. At the same time, the medical light turned back again and did not bother about the injured people on the battlefield at all. Where are the rest of them? Second Last didn't seem to have any questions in her life. Every time she asked, she would sound like she was making a statement. Their people are everywhere. The Guardian of the Night quickly stood at attention in a standard military posture. It seemed that he should have been a soldier before joining the Guardians of the Night. "Holy ground too," Second Last said. The Guardian of the Night answered respectfully, "Yes, commanding officer." "Go and support your teammates," Second Last said as she gestured to the mercenaries who were being surrounded. She then gestured at the hill in the distance. At the same time, the medical light descended again and let out a crisp and melodious sound of bell. It turned back for the last time and healed Second Last's body before jumping back. The Guardians of the Night looked over, only to see a figure flipping over from the snowy slope and running down the path that Second Last had taken. The leaping rays of medical light eventually landed on the figure like a swallow returning to its nest. He was also wearing a mercenary uniform. It seemed that the 2 commanding officers had been providing support everywhere, infiltrating the enemy's interior and rescuing the various battlefield. Just from the effect alone, it was very good. However, why didn't I remember seeing such a skinny commanding officer? Jiang Shao scurried over, and Second Last turned around and said in a hoarse voice, "Let's go." "Calm. Commanding officer," the Guardian of the Night said hesitantly, seemingly struggling. "Okay." Second Last turned around slightly and looked at the young Guardian of the Night. "Can you let commanding officer treat our brothers?" the Guardian of the Night asked after mustering his courage. Second Last paused and raised her head slightly before pointing at the battlefield in the distance with her chin. "Hurry up and clean up the battlefield." "Yes." The Guardian of the Night was overjoyed and turned around to join the battle. The mercenary team's formation had long been in chaos, and one of them was surrounded by many people. They were already struggling and losing. While resting, second last tossed a star bead to Jiang Shao and said, "This is a rules-awakened star bead. When you reach the peak of the Stardust stage and feel that the time is right, use it to help you break through the shackles." Jiang Shao gripped the blue star bead tightly and couldn't help but feel a little excited. All of a sudden, a bunch of information surged into his mind. It was simply dazzling. 1, 2, 3, 4. 14 star techniques. 5 brass quality, 7 silver quality, 2 gold quality. Star bead? Quality, star technique, 1. Night vision. Passive technique that increases one's night vision. Brass quality, upgradable, 2. Collide. Slam into your enemy with all your might. Comes with a slight repelling effect. Brass quality, upgradable, can be absorbed together. 3. Icicle. Condenses star power and natural snow to condense into icicles to attack the enemy. Silver quality, upgradable, 4. Snowstorm. Condenses star power and natural snow to create a huge snowstorm in a specific area. Silver quality, upgradable, 5. Heart of ice and snow. Passive technique that reduces the effects of cold and low temperatures on the body. Silver quality, upgradable, can be absorbed together. 6. Mud bomb. Condenses star power, connects to the soil and shoots out mud bombs. Brass quality, upgradable, 7. Mud explosion. Condenses star power, connects to the soil and shoots out mud bombs that can explode. Silver quality, upgradable, 8. Mud shield. Condenses star power, connects to the soil, and forms a thick shield in one's hand. Silver quality, upgradable, can be absorbed together. 9. Mud hand. Summons a manipulable mud hand from the soil. Silver quality, upgradable, 10. Mud wall. Condenses star power, connects to the soil, and forms a tough mud wall. Silver quality, upgradable, can be absorbed together. 11. Mud thorn. Condenses a sharp thorn made of mud from the soil. Silver quality, upgradable, 12. Mud prison. Condenses several curved and tough thorns from the soil to form a prison. Silver quality, upgradable, can be absorbed together. 13. Mud river. Condenses star power, connects to the soil, and controls the soil within a certain range to form a river. Gold quality, upgradable, 14. Mud marsh. Condenses star power, connects to the soil, and controls the soil within a certain range to form a marsh. Gold quality, upgradable. After reading those star techniques, Jiang Shao felt rather dispirited. As far as the eye could see, there was only mud. China is rich in land and resources, but Russia isn't inferior either. Once the atmosphere became Soviet, Jiang Shao would think about the fighting nation and the hairy bears. Yet, all he saw was a pile of mud? Could it be that this fellow grew up in a pile of mud? Is he the only mud doll left behind in the village? Oh my goodness, he's amazing. Could it be that he's a stinky mud doll? What a coincidence. I'm young Gyro with a crooked skill tree. The woman next to me is little Neza, who can step on windfire wheels. Chapter 101. Without the 2 magic awakened mercenaries to control the situation, the battle ended very quickly. Under the encirclement of the Guardians of the Night, it was almost one-sided. The soldiers quickly collected the spoils of war and took the corpses with them. There were even a few soldiers who dragged the corpses of the 2 headless rules awakened and the last guardian away. When you reach the nebula stage, you can try to use Star Force possession to block the wind and snow. Second Last's muffled voice sounded from behind the mask. She thought that Jiang Shao was cold when she saw how he was constantly moving his body. This feeling was a little sweet, right? What was this? Reward? Should I express my appreciation for Jiang Zhao's execution? At this time, Jiang Shao could immediately advance to the nebula stage. He was now at Stardust stage level 9 and only needed 1 skill point. However, Jiang Shao didn't intend to stand out. Second last just finished speaking and he's going to level up? There was clearly a problem. Besides, Jiang Shao had leveled up too quickly during the battle just now. He didn't train at all and directly used skill points to level up a few times. Star power levels and skill levels were two different things. After all, the level of star power was delayed by his physical fitness. Even if the level of his skill level increased rapidly, Jiang Zhao's skills in that aspect would also improve by leaps and bounds. His shortcomings would be made up for, and every move would appear in his mind out of thin air and be integrated into his body. Jiang Shao decided to check out the market. If necessary, he was prepared to spend a few skill points to upgrade his dagger mastery to silver quality. At this stage, Jiang Zhao's fists that were covered in green glow could not smash the white ghoul's skulls, but the dagger could. Jiang Shao felt great when he was collecting skill points just now. He could finally be a little more extravagant. However, speaking of which, Jiang Shao suddenly felt a little tempted by second last's suggestion. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for Jiang Shao to come into contact with something like killing. Therefore, he could only obtain skill points by slaughtering dimensional creatures, but it was very difficult for him to obtain skill points by slaughtering awakened ones. Jiang Shao wasn't a tyrannical person and wouldn't do anything outrageous for the sake of skill points. But when others invaded China as a guardian, it was only right and proper to fight back and kill them. Jiang Shao even felt that he could take the initiative to attack and go to the territory of the enemy country to play. It's impolite not to reciprocate. If he joined the Guardians of the Night and found a godly team in the Guardians of the Night, wouldn't it be a piece of cake to harvest these rotten fish and shrimps? Wouldn't he have as many skill points as he wanted? Unfortunately, the remaining 5 mercenaries were killed by the Guardians of the Night. Hence, they were not deemed as part of Jiang Zhao's team. Hence, there were no skill points. Second last didn't seem to have any intention of attacking either. She simply observed and replenished her star power while adjusting her breathing. Jiang Zhao's heart was bleeding. Those 5 mercenaries were at least of a higher star power level than Jiang Shao, right? So, after killing it, it would definitely be a leapfrogging kill, and there would definitely be 5 skill points. That's 25 skill points. What a waste. Blessings were cast on the Guardians of the Night and the Guardians, Chinese soldiers. In an instant, the team, which was not very imposing, became more energetic. The sounds of moaning made Jiang Shao get goosebumps. Second last looked at the excited soldiers on the battlefield with her long and narrow eyes and nodded in satisfaction. Let's go. Her words were still simple and clear. She turned around and walked forward, after which she combed her messy black hair and put on the black mask again. She seemed to be deliberately taking care of Jiang Shao, so she didn't walk quickly. As the corpses were moved away, Jiang Shao placed his hand on second last's wrist and dispelled the imprint. Jiang Zhao's star technique, imprint, was not of a high level and could be considered a factory setting. Hence, he could only remove the imprint by touching the target's body. Of course, if too much time passed, the imprint would slowly dissipate and Jiang Shao wouldn't have to retrieve it himself. After the imprint dissipated, the crisp and melodious sound of bell was heard. A white ray of medical light leaped onto the battlefield and connected to the body of a soldier. Compared to the recovery effect of blessing, Bell was able to recover faster and faster. The medical light flickered on the bodies of the soldiers, and one after another, the medical light waves bounced over. While retreating, Jiang Shao followed second last's footsteps while continuously releasing his star technique, Bell. He would not hold back when dealing with the soldiers who were protecting the country. By the time the star power in Jiang Zhao's body was depleted, the white rays of medical light had already weaved into a net that connected the soldiers and the Guardians of the Night. Some of the rays of medical light were still leaping, while others had already stopped shuttling. However, the white spots of light had yet to dissipate and were still on the route that they had previously taken. The ringing of bells was continuous, crisp, and pleasing to the ear, causing one to feel relaxed and happy. Under the illumination of the bright starry sky, the scene was extremely beautiful. Under the scorching gazes of the soldiers in the distance, the two figures, one large and one small, were gradually drowned in the snow. "This is the role of a medical awakened," second last said. "Treating illnesses, saving lives, and inspiring others." While absorbing the white ghoul star beads, Jiang Shao secretly nodded. It was undeniable that due to the rarity of medical awakened, people's emotions would inevitably fluctuate when they saw a medical awakened. If the medical awakened was competent and had a good medical star technique, it would indeed be a great boost to the morale of the team. Second last suddenly changed the topic and asked, "Do you prefer bare-handed combat, firearms, or cold weapons?" Jiang Shao also realized a problem. Every time he participated in a battle with her and spent more time with her, she seemed to desire him more. That question, based on the current relationship between the two of them, it could be a question between teammates, or a teacher asking his disciple. Jiang Shao was more inclined to the latter. After all, second last had once made it very clear that strength could be nurtured. Now, the problem was, should he hug this thick and long thigh or not? Should Jiang Shao not join a team of such a level too early? After all, it was too dangerous. In retrospect, the Guardians of the Night seemed to be a good backer. If there were any forces that could tolerate the fact that Jiang Zhao's star technique could be upgraded or even protected, the Guardians of the Night and the Wasteland Reclaimers would definitely be among them. Most importantly, Jiang Shao didn't trust second last and whether they were close enough. The two of them had indeed gone through thick and thin together, and their relationship was indeed good. As for the reason why Jiang Shao was a little tempted by the Wasteland Reclaimers, it was partly because his parents were members of the Wasteland Reclaimers, and he felt that he could find Xia Shanhai to understand his parents' experiences. If his parents were popular enough, Jiang Shao could make use of them to get the Wasteland Reclaimers to accept and protect him. On the other hand, the Wasteland Reclaimers were responsible for Wasteland Reclaimers, after all, which was enough to satisfy Jiang Zhao's dream of exploring all kinds of strange worlds in China. Jiang Shao only had one life, and he was indeed suffering from persecutory delusions. He always felt that his upgradable star technique was a little too domineering. He indeed needed a backer, and a powerful one at that. Sensing Jiang Zhao's hesitation, second last misunderstood him and said, "There's nothing you like." Jiang Shao was racking his brains frantically, and when he heard her question, he casually answered without hesitation, "I like cozying up to others." The facts proved that, for Jiang Shao, the rational side, he had to deliberately use his brain and get into the right state. The mischievous side. Chapter 102. Where are we going now? Are we going to search for reinforcements? Jiang Shao asked loudly. He had no choice because the snowstorm was too strong. "The holy ground," second last answered concisely. Hearing a new term, Jiang Shao frantically asked, "The holy ground? What's that?" Second last pondered for a while, seemingly considering if she should tell Jiang Shao that piece of information. After a few seconds, she answered, "How do you think the white ghouls maintain such a large population?" "Reproduction, just like mammals. They reproduce through mating," Jiang Shao answered. It was because Jiang Shao had once seen the awakened who stole the white ghoul witch's offspring. He had also seen the two enraged white ghoul witches commanding their subordinates to chase after the awakened. "Yeah, they do have this function, but have you ever seen them reproduce in the snowfield?" Second last asked as she strode forward in the snowstorm, seemingly having a clear destination in mind. Jiang Shao followed behind second last and used her massive body to shield him from the wind and snow. "I've never seen it before," Jiang Shao said, feeling rather elated. "They do have the ability to reproduce through mating, but that's not the mainstream method," second last continued to teach Jiang Shao. Second last continued to teach Jiang Shao. The snowfield has such rich resources and endless white ghouls because of the existence of the holy ground. So the holy ground is a breeding base? Jiang Shao asked in bewilderment. Second last said, no, it's a passage that connects the snowfield and the upper latitudes. Second last continued, most of the white ghouls here don't reproduce through mating. Instead, they're directly thrown here. In other words, they don't have to go through a fragile childhood period. Instead, they appear in the snowfield in their adult state. Jiang Shao froze for a moment and thought, what did I hear? Thrown? These white ghouls entered this place from another dimension through the spacetime tunnel? Second last said, your high-quality star beads and star techniques might be produced in the holy ground or the upper latitudes behind the holy ground. Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. What does she mean? Is the upper latitudes of the snowfield also a snowfield? And the creatures there are stronger? Star beads of higher quality? Why is the southeast route more dangerous and rich in resources? Because it's closer to the holy ground. Second last continued, there will also be white ghouls and white ghoul witches in other routes and areas, but the frequency will be lower. Jiang Shao was a little confused. I'm not well educated. Don't lie to me. I've stayed here for more than 10 days, but I've never seen a white ghoul suddenly fall from the sky. Second last shook her head and said, they won't descend on the place where you train. Instead, they'll be placed in special areas that are guarded by the guardians of the night. You won't be able to see them. You mean there are many holy grounds here? North, south, east, west, and all directions? Jiang Shao raised his eyebrows. No, there's only one holy ground. It's the main passageway connecting the snowfield and the upper latitude. The other places are considered dimensional passageways. Once the main passage is destroyed, the other passages won't be stable and will gradually lose connection. This snowfield will no longer produce any monster resources. As the last passage in the snowfield is closed, the snowfield will disappear completely and will no longer have any connection with Earth. It was full of good stuff. Get to the point. Unfortunately, this kind of knowledge did not seem to be tested. How should I put it? It's considered a secret of the upper echelons. It's an open secret in the high-level circle, but ordinary people like Jiang Shao don't know about it at all. Even Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan weren't aware of it. Their parents were both members of the Wasteland Reclaimers. Hence, they definitely knew about it. It should be because of the organization's rules and regulations. Jiang Shao finally knew why some dimensional spaces in this world closed quickly, while others could last for a long time and were even developed by the officials into resource points. Wait, that's the duty of the Guardians of the Night. In that case, the duty of the Wasteland Reclaimers should be to evaluate the dimensional spaces and keep the ones that are of value. If they are too dangerous and might pose a threat to China, they should immediately destroy the holy ground and close the dimensional space. Wow, that's impressive. It's no wonder that the Wasteland Reclaimers enjoy such a high reputation in China. In places that people don't know about, they're responsible for the survival of the entire country and the safety of every ordinary citizen. Jiang Shao, who was constantly making deductions and analyzing, found out about the duties of the Guardians of the Night and deduced the hidden duties of the Wasteland Reclaimers. At this moment, Jiang Shao was really full of admiration for his parents whom he had never met. Holy ground. What does it look like? Jiang Zhao's curiosity was getting the best of him. It's just a special name. You'll see for yourself. Okay. Jiang Shao digested the knowledge that Second Last had given him and still found it unbelievable. He asked, since it's a passage, can we go over if the other party can come over? Second Last nodded slightly, seemingly satisfied with Jiang Zhao's question. For most people, that door is one way. You don't want to get lost in another dimension. Jiang Shao was slightly stunned. The official news was that his parents had gone missing. They weren't dead. Would there still be a possibility of survival for his parents whom he had never met? Jiang Shao digested the information and was unsure if he should tell Han Jiangxue. Second last continued, that's why the offspring of the creatures of other dimensions are so precious. You have very few star slots. Have you thought about what kind of star pet you want to tame? Ever since second last changed her stance, she had been particularly concerned about Jiang Zhao's future. Jiang Shao snapped back to his senses and thought about it for a while before asking, do you mean that people with more star slots have more rights to choose star pets? You'll see. In this world, there's a special growth direction for the awakened, star pet warriors. They're as precious as medical awaken like you. I've fought with such a guy before. His combat power is mediocre, but he has an extremely practical defensive star technique. He also has 11 star slots in his star map that are embedded with Star Pet. Star Pet Warrior? That's an interesting profession. Does he have to rely on his own pets to fight? According to the price of the offspring of other dimensions, Jiang Shao compared the probability of absorbing star pets and thought to himself, that's probably a profession that only tycoons can afford. The point is, there are some problems that money can't solve. Star pet warriors like that not only have to be rich, but they also have to have a strong team to help them. I do have very few star slots. Let's see which one will benefit more, star techniques or star pets. Jiang Shao shook his head and said, I'm still a rookie in the Stardust stage. Star pets are rather distant to me, and I'll only be able to come into contact with them when I'm in the Galaxy stage. We'll see when the time comes. Jiang Shao then asked curiously, what about you? Do you have any star pets? Second last answered, no. Jiang Shao asked, why? Second last said, my star slots have already been filled up. If I want to obtain star pets, I can only wait for my star power to level up. Jiang Shao said, don't be perfunctory with me. You're in the Galaxy stage, and I believe you've stayed in this stage for a long time. Can't you save even one of the 16 available star slots? It was rare for second last to speak with a hint of intonation in her voice. She turned around and looked at Jiang Shao with interest. Jiang Shao looked up at second last, wondering why she was suddenly interested in him. Second last pressed her hand on Jiang Zhao's head and said, star slots are the same as teams. The number of slots is limited. Jiang Shao slapped away the big hand on his head angrily and took a step back. So? Second last lowered her head and stared at Jiang Shao with her long and narrow eyes. I only want what's most suitable for me. Jiang Shao thought about it again and muttered, you're about 25 or 26 years old, right? You're almost older than me, auntie. A peculiar smile gradually appeared on second last's sullen face, which was hidden behind the mask. She seemed to be amused by Jiang Zhao's playful way of changing the topic time and time again. She liked the way Jiang Shao dealt with problems, but she didn't like Jiang Zhao's repeated rejections. Second last turned around and said, I've taken a fancy to a type of star pet. Come with me in 9 months. Indeed, he would be beaten up if he fell behind. In the face of absolute power, it was indeed difficult for Jiang Shao, who was the weaker party, to make his own decisions. Even though he had been avoiding her time and time again, what was meant to come would always come. Upon hearing second last's words, Jiang Shao got a great shock and asked, did you just break through to the Galaxy stage? You can allocate more star slots now? Second last glanced at Jiang Shao without answering. Is she really in the Galaxy stage? Jiang Shao was secretly indignant. Woman. Chapter 103. Jiang Shao had his own plans for the Rule's star bead that second last gave him, which was an awakened star bead in the Galaxy stage. In the list of mud, Jiang Shao felt that the Mud River and Mud Marsh were the most attractive ones. It was a genuine gold-quality star technique that was extremely powerful. Jiang Shao also liked the silver-quality star technique, Mud Hand, which seemed to be good for controlling others. However, Jiang Shao hesitated again and decided not to let those star techniques occupy his limited star slot. Second last was right. The number of star slots was limited, especially for Jiang Shao, who had 9 star slots. Hence, each star slot was undoubtedly more precious. Even though Jiang Shao had no choice but to accept the first 3 star slots passively, the effects were extraordinary and gave Jiang Shao a good start in his career as an awakened. Jiang Shao still had plenty of time to grow, and he didn't think that star techniques like Mud River and Mud Marsh were the most suitable for him. Controlling techniques like Mud Hand would not benefit Jiang Shao much at this moment. Present, Mud Body and Mud Shield could help Jiang Shao, but the introduction seemed to be very restrictive. He had to connect the star technique to the soil in order to use it. Of course, in most cases, Jiang Zhao's battle scenes should have soil, but Jiang Zhao's low number of star slots made him think about that. Most importantly, such star beads were rather difficult for Jiang Shao to obtain at the moment. At this stage, Jiang Shao did not have the ability to go to Russia and find the dimensional space that was full of smelly mud, to upgrade his mud shield and mud body. In the next few years, Jiang Shao would have to take root in the local area and obtain the local star technique. That would be the greatest benefit. At the end of the day, Jiang Shao still had too few star slots. If he had 28 star slots like second last, 30 star slots like Han Jiangxue, or even 25 star slots like Li Wei, he wouldn't be stingy with absorbing Mud Hand, Mud Wall, Mud River, and Mud Marsh. He definitely couldn't focus on what was in front of him. The number of star slots Jiang Shao had forced him to look further and pay more attention to the future. For people like Jiang Shao who had an internal star map, the quality of the star techniques might not be the most important. The most important thing was the attributes and restrictions of the star technique. Li Wei's Black Shield was very good, and he could summon it at will without any restrictions. Jiang Shao was also very clear about his own position. He was a support, not an omnipotent god. In retrospect, he felt that the white ghoul star bead was really a conscientious one. Not only did it have green glow, but it also had a defensive technique called endurance. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. To Jiang Shao, it was really the best divine skill. In the long run, it would be best to absorb a large number of white ghoul star beads if he wanted to increase his defense. "We'll reach the holy ground after we cross this snow mountain," second last said. Jiang Shao looked over and saw the towering snow mountain. Standing on the peak of the mountain, he wondered if he could reach out and pluck the stardust. "I'll take you with me. When we go down the mountain, you can walk on your own. I'll restore my star power," second last said while striding forward and adjusting the mercenary belt. What was going on? The 2 of them quickly arrived at the foot of the mountain and second last knelt down. "Come up, Jiang Shao." Jiang Shao climbed onto her back and second last wrapped the belt around Jiang Shao before buckling it in front of her waist. "Grab on." "Oh." Jiang Shao grabbed second last's shoulders and she darted out at the next moment. She didn't walk upright and instead moved forward quickly on all 4s, just like a feline. It was no wonder that she didn't believe in Jiang Zhao's strength and wanted to use the belt to bind the 2 of them tightly. A star map slowly appeared on her body. Due to the fact that they were too close, the star map also enveloped Jiang Shao, making it difficult for him to see it clearly. One of the star slots was emitting a faint silver light, which seemed to be helping second last move forward. She climbed the snowy mountains as if she was walking on flat ground. Sometimes there would be steep mountains, but she was extremely agile, just like a rock climber. That reminded Jiang Shao of Laura. Regardless of how small the protruding rock was, how great the inertia of the human body was, how steep the mountain wall was, or how far the protagonist was jumping, Jiang Shao thought of Laura. As long as the controller pressed the right button, Laura's hand would never slip, and it would be impossible for her to fall. There would definitely be thrills, but there was no need to panic. That was just a game setting that would trigger certain situations. She would definitely be able to climb up as long as she pressed the correct button, according to the instructions. Second Last leaped and swung on the cliff of the snow mountain. She didn't even need an ice pick because her sharp claws were like ice picks. Be it snow, ice, or even exposed stone walls, she would be able to insert her hands into them. She didn't need ice claws at her feet either. With the use of her star power and star techniques, she would be able to create a small pit in the cliff. Jiang Shao no longer knew what kind of animal he should use to compare her to. During the previous battles, he had seen her in the form of a cat and a leopard. Now, she might be the Tarzan next door. What kind of star technique is this? Jiang Shao followed her and climbed the cliff quickly while thinking to himself, even if you don't tell me everything, you should at least tell me one, right? However, as soon as he said that, Second Last's body suddenly tilted and the protruding rock in her hand fell. Second Last inserted her left hand into the cliff and slid down diagonally for half a meter before she managed to stabilize herself. Jiang Shao was so frightened that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. Pieces of gravel smashed onto his body and ended the topic. Unfortunately, the snowstorm started again. Jiang Shao was really dumbfounded. I just said a few words. Do I have to be punished so severely? At the same time, on the other side of the towering snow mountain, there were 3 parties engaged in a chaotic battle. The snow-colored white ghouls were undoubtedly the largest group of troops. They attacked the invaders in a frenzy and displayed their ferocity to the fullest. Some of the white ghouls were so bloodthirsty that they didn't even care if they were slaughtering their companions. A group of guardians of the night wandered in front of each cave and would retreat into the cave from time to time, seemingly looking for a way to rush out. On the other hand, another group of mercenaries was walking in a maze made of mud walls. They were cleverly defending and advancing steadily. They were advancing towards the central part of the white ghouls' population. It was worth mentioning that even though the white ghouls had suffered heavy casualties, they were different from the white ghouls outside. They didn't seem to be afraid of death at all. Back then, when Jiang Shao was surrounded by the white ghouls, Second Last would throw a white ghoul away, and the white ghouls with low intelligence would still hesitate and stop in their tracks. However, that wouldn't happen here at all. Even if there were many casualties, they would still advance one after another. It was because there were too many mainstays here. Among the huge group of white ghouls, the rare white ghoul which appeared frequently. It appeared and disappeared in the cave at the foot of the mountain, roaring loudly and making a unique sound. At the foot of the endless mountain range, there seemed to be some peculiar white ghouls and a small number of white ghoul witches in the cave. The 3 forces numbered in the tens of thousands and seemed to be engaged in a large-scale ancient war. On the chaotic battlefield, there were 2 forces engaged in a fierce battle in a cave that extended in all directions. It was a rare place where the guardians of the night and the mercenaries clashed. A girl was leaning against the stone wall with a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her chestnut-colored hair was stained with blood and was abnormally messy. Her originally bright eyes were slightly unfocused as she lightly coughed and muttered, "I'm missing a knife." "No, what you lack is treatment. Li Wei go." A gentle male voice sounded. "Li Wei go." The tall Li Wei carried the black shield and stood in the cave passage. The man quickly retreated and the star map on his body slowly bloomed, after which a golden star slot suddenly lit up. Kacha! An illusory scepter appeared in the man's hand and he stabbed it into the ground forcefully. Whoosh! The exquisite scepter that was 1 meter long emitted a dazzling ray of light that enveloped everyone in the cave. Chapter 104. On the 10th day of quitting smoking, his withdrawal symptoms were much less severe. Compared to physical dependence, you hated psychological dependence even more. God knows what I've been through these few days. I started smoking when I was writing my first book. I still remember that it was during my second year of university, 2011. In the blink of an eye, 7 or 8 years had passed. How fast! Suddenly, he remembered Xiao Shan's words. Damn it, to be honest, you had only resumed writing these 2 days. He basically did not write much last week, and had been sending out drafts. What made him sad was that he could only watch helplessly as the drafts decreased day by day. What made him happy was that you had made ample preparations before starting the book, so there were still some drafts left. You was a superficial person. Seeing everyone's encouragement, tips, recommendations, and favorites in the comments increasing day by day, you was especially satisfied. Thank you all for accompanying me through these difficult days and giving me so much mental food. Why did I want to nag today? Because I drank too much today, and also because today is Yu's birthday. I'm 1 year older. I'm so happy. Let's make a few wishes. 1. I hope that this book will do better and better. 2. I hope that in the future I will never touch it. Damn it, I've written so many good protagonists. Joaquin, Summer, Ethan. All of them are people who believe in promises. You should have some backbone and not touch it when he says he won't touch it. If you touch me, you'll be a puppy. My third wish, I wish that all my friends who read my book will become rich, haha. Chapter 105. The 1-meter-tall scepter was faintly discernible, as if it had no physical body and was just an illusory shadow. However, the scepter's handle was firmly inserted into the ground, creating a small pit. On top of the scepter, there was a white gem that was emitting a rich light. In this small cave, there were 2 night watchers in black and a team of 4 rookies in white camouflage. Of course, in this team, there was a young man who was not a rookie. It was Hai Tianqing, who was always smiling. The cave was not large and was about 30 square meters in size. It was in an irregular circular shape, and there were 3 passageways in the west, southeast, and northeast, which were guarded by 2 guardians of the night and Li Wei. One of the guardians of the night shouted, "Let's swap. There are white ghouls here. I'll go over there to fight the mercenaries." "No need, I'll do it." Hai Tianqing quickly returned to Li Wei's side and heard the sound of the mud snakes hitting Li Wei's black shield. The battle did not seem to be in a stalemate for too long, and Xia Yan was severely injured after just a few rounds. Among her peers, she was already one of the best, but facing a group of mercenaries, her strength was still lacking. To her, this was not a battle of the same level. The mercenary team seemed to know how to make use of their advantages. In the next moment, several mud snakes suddenly sprang out from the center of the cave. They didn't even need to rush in to tear this team apart from the inside. Fortunately, the attacking mercenary corps did not seem to have the gold quality star technique, Mud River. Otherwise, this team would have been completely annihilated. The home advantage was too obvious. "Teacher Hai, retreat," Han Jiangxue said softly while sticking close to the wall and moving to the edge of the tunnel. Hai Tianqing's body was covered in a strange light and he tore an incoming mud snake apart. Just as he was about to rush into the tunnel to kill the enemy, he was stopped by Han Jiangxue's words. "Pretend to be injured and retreat to their blind spot," Han Jiangxue continued before turning to look at Xia Yan. "Crawl towards me." Hai Tianqing retreated, and a mud spike stabbed down from the top of the passageway, narrowly missing Hai Tianqing's face. At this moment, several mud bombs hit Hai Tianqing's body and exploded. Hai Tianqing tumbled backward and hurriedly crawled to the side. The mercenaries in the tunnel did not rush out. Instead, they used their mud snakes to smash the scepter in the middle of the cave. After that, the mercenaries walked in cautiously. In his line of sight, he had already seen the ankle of a black-clothed night watchman through the narrow passage, and then it disappeared again. He quickly took a step forward. When he was about a meter away from the entrance of the tunnel, his vision blurred, and then he suddenly found himself unable to breathe. Han Jiangxue leaned against the wall and put away Sky Smasher. She then carefully looked at the surrounding stone walls, only to discover that the soil beside one of the guardians of the night was soft and surging, as if it had turned into flowing soil. It was not a gold-quality star technique, mud river, but it was enough to open up a passage there. Han Jiangxue hurriedly waved her hand, and Sky Smasher landed on the stone wall. The mercenary in Sky Smasher had yet to suffocate to death, and when he saw the exit that suddenly appeared, he was overjoyed. Due to the fact that he had nowhere to borrow strength from, he had no choice but to swim towards the open exit. However, a silhouette flashed from the stone wall and rushed out with a whoosh. It knocked back the mercenary who was trying to climb out, and its body also rushed into Sky Smasher. "Let's go!" Hai Tianqing yelled frantically while retreating with his team. In the cave they were really beaten up badly. The other party had a huge home advantage, and in the current situation, even if they were to rush into the group of white ghouls, it would be better than fighting against the smelly mud in the cave. The powerful guardians of the night were also retreating precisely because of their home advantage. Hai Tianqing pushed Li Wei along the small tunnel that the mercenaries had just opened up and called for everyone to run in. The golden light on his body flickered, and he slammed the ground forcefully. Another illusory scepter descended and directly inserted itself into the tunnel behind it. This time, the gem on the scepter was blue in color. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Bolts of lightning darted out of the gem on the scepter and shot out of the tunnel. Han Jiangxue walked towards one of the guardians of the night and said, "Hurry." The two of them quickly scurried towards the newly opened tunnel, and Han Jiangxue did not forget to use Baron Wind to blow Xia Yan, who was sitting on the ground, over. In the end, the guardians of the night who were blocking the entrance of the cave of the white ghouls were carried into the small tunnel by Hai Tianqing, after which a group of white ghouls immediately swarmed out and swarmed into all the caves that they could see. Hai Tianqing, who had scurried into the small tunnel, was very aware that he had to stay behind. A sapphire scepter was inserted and blocked the entrance of the small tunnel. The electric current was tearing his body apart, and he tried his best to bear with the pain and numbness while clenching his left fist. The people who were climbing in front of him heard the pleasant sound of bell. A ray of medical light jumped onto the guardian of the night in front of him, and through the narrow tunnel, it jumped onto the team that was squeezed into a straight line. Li Wei, Xia Yan, Han Jiangxue, and the guardian of the night. Hai Tianqing's entire body was numb, and he crawled forward while enduring the pain. Another ray of medical light was shot out, and this time, he put an imprint on himself. The ray of medical light turned back, but it continued to jump behind him and hang on a white ghoul at the entrance of the cave. Hai Tianqing pressed his hand on the back of the guardian of the night in front of him and quickly left an imprint. The ray of medical light turned back and hung on Hai Tianqing's body before finally shuttling back and forth between Hai Tianqing and the guardian of the night in front of him. The guardian of the night at the front had already climbed out of the small tunnel and was fighting with two mercenaries. A mercenary was carrying a mud shield that was covered in mud and resisting the bombardment of flames by the guardian of the night in front of him. However, he did not panic, because he knew that his teammates behind him would drown the guardian of the night with mud snake. However, to his astonishment, the guardian of the night actually retreated. He retreated to the left side of the tunnel and distanced himself from the two mercenaries on the right side of the tunnel. At the next moment, the mercenary felt his vision blur, and the space in front of him seemed to be overlapping. Then, a gust of wind suddenly gushed out from behind him, directly blowing him into the shattered space. The guardian of the night on the left side of the tunnel used all his strength to hit the mud that was crawling up his legs, and the mud that was crawling up his legs suddenly stopped moving. The guardian of the night looked up, only to see that the mercenary was nowhere to be seen. The two mercenaries had been thrown into the Sky Smasher. Han Jiangxue quickly climbed out. At her age and in the low-level nebula stage, she had accepted the blessings of her parents and obtained a star technique that she shouldn't have. She also endured pressure that she shouldn't have. The facts had proven the importance of star techniques and combination technique. If she were to use such a technique in the National High School League, her ranking would definitely not be low. However, she would definitely suffer jail time or even more severe punishments. With such a star technique, she definitely shouldn't waste her life in peaceful sparring. Are these people specially trained to attack this place? Why can every mercenary control mud? Xia Yan asked angrily. Chapter 106. Everyone filed out and listened to the situation around them before quickly running to the left. However, they discovered that it was a dead end. It's a mud wall made by the mercenaries. The guardian of the night in front of them held onto the wall and said, "Smash it and rush out. We might face a large number of white ghouls." While speaking, everyone looked at Hai Tianqing. The mercenaries have a huge advantage in this terrain. Rush out of the cave and fight the white ghouls in the mountains. That's the only way to release your strength, Hai Tianqing said to the two guardians of the night. Hai Tianqing said to the two guardians of the night. This team was not formed on purpose. It was formed when the white ghouls and the mercenary corps broke up. One of the guardians of the night said, "As long as we can kill all the mercenaries, it'll be worth it even if we die in the hands of the white ghouls." The other guardian of the night nodded. The guardian of the night in front of the wall said, "We'll listen to fourth last then. You're the commander now. Call me 192, rules awakened, main wind, secondary control." The guardian of the night said, 178, melee, swiftness, secondary shield. Hai Tianqing nodded and said, 178, you'll take the lead. Li Wei and Xia Yan, follow closely behind and assist. 192, Han Jiangxue, stay in the middle, and I'll cover the rear. Han Jiangxue emptied Sky Smasher, and left the 4 corpses behind. She then grabbed 4 star beads and nodded gently. "Why do they call you fourth last?" Xia Yan asked softly while following Hai Tianqing. Hai Tianqing left an imprint on everyone and remained silent for a while before saying, "Because I belong to the weakest team." At the front, number 178's fist was filled with green glow. At the moment before he smashed the mud wall, he said in a deep voice, "The Guardians of the Night with a designation are the light-chasing team. There are no weaklings." Everyone in the team tensed up and thought, indeed, Hai Tianqing is a member of the Guardians of the Night. When Hai Tianqing addressed the tall and burly man as captain in the prison, everyone in the team was already a little suspicious. As he spoke, number 178 punched several times and shattered the mud wall in front of him. A passage was opened, only to see the corpses of the white ghouls. It seemed that the white ghouls had followed the mercenaries in. After being cut off, they had no one to kill, so there was internal strife in their own team. Looking at the scene of blood flowing like a river, how long did it take for such a bloody scene to appear? Without hesitation, everyone quickly grabbed the star beads and moved forward. After picking them up and walking for a few minutes, they finally saw a few swaying figures near the exit. Team 178 took the lead and rushed forward. He was different from second last's team. They were the Guardians of the Night who had been guarding the snowfield all year round. Not only were they extremely familiar with the terrain, but they were also very familiar with the white ghouls and white ghoul witches. It was easy for them to kill this group of low-level white ghouls. The group of people finally rushed out and saw the light of day again. Well, this description was not accurate, because the sky here was dark. Although the stars were shining, the visibility was not high. Only the flashing aurora in the sky could add a little brightness. When Han Jiangxue, who was in the middle of the team, walked out, she was shocked to discover that they had unknowingly arrived at the mountainside. There was an extremely spectacular scene below. The dense and countless white ghouls were like locusts that filled the entire valley below, and close-range battles were happening all the time. It was the most common scene in the Holy Ground. Even if the 2 legions did not rush in today, the white ghouls would still be injured and killed all the time. However, their numbers had never decreased. Instead, the more they killed, the more they increased. That was because a large number of white ghouls were constantly emerging in the holy ground, mixed with white ghoul witches from time to time. If there was a white ghoul witch present when a wave of white ghouls arrived, the chances of a fight would be greatly reduced. The white ghouls would surround the white ghoul witch and rush out of the holy ground in an orderly manner to integrate into the large family. Due to such a large number of white ghouls, a large number of white ghouls dispersed, and some white ghoul witches also walked out of the valley with their subordinates, heading to various corners of the snowfield. By feeding on the corpses of their own kind, they occupied the mountain and became the king. Their brave and ruthless characters were fully displayed. Today, the scene was even more chaotic. A large number of white ghouls that had rushed into the snowfield from the holy ground did not leave. Instead, they blew the horn of battle at the group of invaders. In other words, they were not very territorial. They did not appear to be defenders, but to kill the heretics in a frenzy. Every white ghoul was a hunter and also a prey. When other races appeared, their priority would be to hunt the alien races. Mud walls were built abruptly in the valley, forcibly opening up a path. In the midst of the crowd of white ghouls, there was a tough mud maze that was built from time to time, constantly approaching the center of the valley. That was the place known as the Holy Ground. In the middle of the valley, surrounded by mountains, there was a medium-sized hill at the bottom. There were caves all around the hill, and the white ghouls were surging out of the hill like locusts. On normal days, the traffic here was already congested enough. Today, the white ghouls on the periphery were unwilling to leave. They were unwilling to leave the holy ground and find a foothold. They all wanted to tear these humans apart. Therefore, the white ghouls that were gushing out of the mountain that was surrounded by caves actually stopped for a moment. These white ghouls could trample everyone to death just by passing through the area, not to mention killing each other. However, this group of mercenaries was obviously prepared. Their mud walls were tough and flexible. They could open up wherever they wanted to, blocking the white ghouls. The mercenaries had built a mud tunnel and moved toward the center of the holy ground. These are all to attract the firepower on the surface. They have the ability to open up a tunnel underground. Perhaps they have already rushed into the holy ground and are cutting off the space-time tunnel. 192 said with a solemn expression. We can only pray that the white ghouls can hold on for a while longer, 178 said angrily. Faced with the situation where ants could bite an elephant to death, they could not rush into the holy ground at all. They wouldn't even be able to protect themselves, let alone rush in. The white ghouls that were everywhere discovered the team on the hillside and had already roared and rushed up. 192, the rules awakened guardian of the night, suddenly said, I can blow all of you into the holy ground and onto that hill. You might be able to stop the mercenaries, but you might also die there. His words made everyone's heart sink. The team was not the guardians of the night. They were just students who had yet to graduate. Although they were all Chinese citizens, they couldn't possibly have the conviction to sacrifice themselves like the guardians of the night. I still have a younger brother to take care of, Han Jiangxue said. It was a simple sentence. Regardless of whether she was afraid of death or telling the truth, no one had the time to analyze it. All they knew was that Han Jiangxue didn't agree with it. That was indeed the case. The identity of the guardians of the night was obvious. They could face death calmly, but they couldn't stand at a certain height and ask others to do the same. Strictly speaking, the guardians of the night couldn't ask the students to do that. Instead, they had to protect them. In that regard, the guardians of the night were of the same nature as the Chinese soldiers and police. As they spoke, they suddenly saw a figure shuttling through the sea of white ghouls and speeding above their heads. That slender and huge figure was like a cheetah, light and agile. It stretched out its four limbs and used both its hands and feet to grab and step on the white ghouls' heads and shoulders. It leaped a distance of more than 10 meters and swept past the densely packed white ghouls. The white ghouls tried to reach out to grab the figure and leap up to intercept it. However, the absolute difference in power made all their actions useless. Besides, the massive figure was too fast and agile. In the blink of an eye, the figure had already rushed from the foot of the mountain in the west to halfway to the holy ground. Xia Yan's pupils constricted slightly and she exclaimed, "Xiaopi?" Chapter 107. Send me over. Han Jiangxue exclaimed anxiously. At this moment, everyone finally knew that she was not really afraid of death, but rather that there was really someone who needed her to take care of. Now, that person was being held hostage by a big cat and tied to its back. Regardless of whether he was dead or alive, he leaped across the sea of white ghouls. What is the background of this woman who is known as second last? Her actions, what kind of physique does she need? What kind of courage and faith does she need? Han Jiangxue absolutely refused to believe that the Jiang Xiaopi she knew was willing to go to the holy ground and rush into the center of the most dangerous vortex. He must have been abducted by that abominable woman. Damn it, even if you want to bring a medic, you should at least bring one with you that's comparable in strength. Why are you bringing a 16-year-old kid along? He just awakened 3 months ago. Jiangxue, don't be rash, Xia Yan said with concern as she hurriedly pulled Han Jiangxue back. Please send me over. Han Jiangxue ignored Xia Yan and turned to look at the Guardian of the Night 192. This time, she used the word please. Han Jiangxue, calm down. Xia Yan barked. Han Jiangxue was neither angry nor displeased. She simply said something that was rather heart-wrenching and simple. He's the only one I have. You. Xia Yan was suddenly at a loss for words. The Guardian of the Night 192 said, if I can think of it, second last will definitely think of it too. She must have gone to stop the mercenaries underground. If she's there, you guys will definitely be able to come out. His words gave everyone a boost in confidence. After all, they had just witnessed Second Last's incredible movements and experienced how extreme a human's control of the body could be. The Guardian of the Night 178 said, I'll go too. Xia Yan stomped her feet angrily and cursed. If we die, so be it. Li Wei froze for a moment. The current situation was no longer within his control. Regardless of whether he stayed or went, it would be dangerous. After all, the team that was put together at the last minute had taken up all the manpower. If Li Wei were to protect the Guardian of the Night 192 alone, he would probably be in danger too. Li Wei made a prompt decision and said, let's go together. Hai Tianqing sighed deeply and said, 192 you, then I'll buy you some time. 178 suddenly retreated to 192's side. Looking at the white ghouls swarming over from all over the mountains, he finally changed his decision. It's my honor. 192 spread his hands out, and the star map on his body appeared vaguely. A gold-quality star slot suddenly lit up, and at the next moment, a gust of wind swept over. Suddenly, a gust of wind surged under everyone's feet, blowing them away. Countless white ghouls swarmed over from all directions, covering the sky and earth. 192, on the other hand, acted as if he did not see these ferocious white ghouls and continued to control the wind to blow everyone away. The group of people was blown into a mess, tumbling up and down in the wind, scattering in all directions. Xia Yan tried her best to turn around, only to see that the white ghouls had already surrounded 192 and 178. 178's crazy attacks overturned groups of white ghouls. 192, on the other hand, had a stable DPS environment, and was steadily blowing everyone away. There was no problem with their abilities and skills, but the problem was that there were too many white ghouls and they didn't know if they could persevere. Oh my god! Jiang Shao wrapped his arms around Second Last's neck. When they were climbing the snow mountain, he could still be a little more reserved and grabbed Jiang Zhao's shoulders to maintain his balance. However, at this moment, Second Last was dodging the waves of white ghouls, and Jiang Shao had no choice but to hug her tightly to maintain his balance. Sometimes, Second Last's sudden change in angle and rhythm made Jiang Shao fear that the belt would be broken. Second Last ignored Jiang Zhao's words and instead slowly released the star map on her body, after which she darted into the huge hole in the holy ground in front of her. A silver star slot in her star map flickered, and at the next moment, Jiang Shao experienced the feeling of advancement. It was the feeling of being enveloped by star power. Second Last stepped on the heads of the two white ghouls and leaped high into the air, after which she flipped nimbly in the air and stepped straight on them. Not only was her body enveloped in star power, but Jiang Shao was also enveloped in it. She crushed the shoulders of a white ghoul with her feet and stepped on it, causing it to fall to the ground. In the end, its shoulders were also crushed into meat paste. As soon as her feet came into contact with the ground, the flames from the explosion spread out. Silver quality star technique * scorch. At the same time, outside the holy ground. Pay attention to the enemy, Han Jiangshu yelled. No, after you land, run straight into the holy ground, Hai Tianqing suddenly said. Everyone was slightly stunned, but they saw Hai Tianqing grabbing the air with both hands, after which two illusory scepters appeared in his hands. Whoosh, whoosh. Although the scepters were illusory, the star power that was wrapped in them made sounds. The blue gemstones on the two 1-meter-long scepters were dazzling and bright. The illusory scepters penetrated the bodies of the white ghouls and pierced into the ground, after which the rich star power blasted a group of white ghouls away and created a deep pit in the ground. Buzz, 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 the electric current spread out in all directions and struck the bodies of the white ghouls. The blue electric net continued to expand, and the white ghouls that were close to it were charred and died immediately. The white ghouls that were covered by the electric net began to feel numb and unable to control themselves. Is she a medical awakened? She's practically a thunder and lightning guardian. Everyone quickly fell from the sky. Han Jiangxue could not stabilize her body, and it was difficult for her to control the barren wind star technique. However, she still tried her best to slow down the momentum of her and Xia Yan. Li Wei carried the black shield and landed on the ground. With a loud bang, he smashed 3 white ghouls and blew up countless white ghouls around him. The white ghouls from all directions stepped on the corpses of their companions and swarmed towards them. Hai Tianqing exclaimed, "Hurry up and go in." Xia Yan said, but inside, Hai Tianqing yelled, "Don't worry, Second Last will definitely clean them up." Xia Yan didn't know where Hai Tianqing's confidence came from. She simply followed Li Wei's shield and chose the cave closest to the hill before dashing in quickly. However, as the team dashed in, their footsteps came to an abrupt halt. It was because the flames that were sweeping towards them were forcing them to be unable to move forward. The ferocious heat wave almost made it impossible for them to breathe. Even with the help of star power, they found it difficult to breathe. They were just outside the battle circle. If they were in it, would they die a horrible death? All the awakened with Fire Series star techniques flashed one after another. Xia Yan's body was covered in burning flames, and she tried her best to reduce the damage caused by the flames. She endured the oncoming heat wave and walked forward step by step, only to see a scene that she would never forget for the rest of her life. In her line of sight, she saw a tall body standing in the middle of the cave with a pair of long and narrow eyes that were emitting a scorching glow. The body was not made of flesh and was instead charred black like charcoal. There was also hot magma flowing out of the cracks on the cracked skin. The huge figure spread his hands and tilted his head back slightly, looking like he was going to deliver all living beings from suffering. With the body as the center point, there was a flaming tornado within a radius of 10 meters. The flames that were sweeping wildly were burning all the surrounding creatures with a strong heat wave. Yes, this place might have once been filled with white ghouls, but now they had all been burned to ashes. Instantly passed away? Cremated on the spot? This one-stop service is really considerate. The remains of the corpses eventually disappeared in the baptism of the fire tornado, leaving only small star beads that were glistening and continuously rotating with the fire tornado. On the head of the lava giant, layers of overlapping space were hanging at the top of the cave, emitting a faint golden light that seemed like scattered holy light. From time to time, white ghouls would fall to the ground along with the light, only to die instantly. In the middle of the flame vortex, a thin figure seemed to be at a loss. Yes, Jiang Shao was indeed a little at a loss. He dared not get too close to second last. Well, he was afraid of the heat. He dared not go too far away from second last because the center of the fire tornado was the safest place. Well, how should I put it, everything is fine now. Chapter 108. Hai Tianqing. Is that person destroying the holy ground? Xia Yan yelled with great difficulty. Such a grand scene was indeed a little too shocking. She knows what she's doing. She won't touch the space door, Hai Tianqing answered before yelling, second last. Let us in. Second last, who was standing in the fire tornado, spat out some heat waves and turned to look at the group of people. She then quickly retracted the fire tornado. Behind the group of people was a group of white ghouls that had been electrocuted, and there were countless white ghouls surging towards them. At the critical juncture, everyone finally dashed in. Before they could ask anything, second last raised her head again and the flames rose again. A wild beast star map slowly appeared, and the golden star slot continued to shine. Without hesitation, Hai Tianqing's body also shone with golden light, and an illusory scepter was inserted into the ground. This time, it was not the white healing scepter, nor was it the blue thunder scepter. The gemstone on the scepter was actually light yellow in color. Jiang Shao immediately felt that something was amiss. This seems to be a star technique that can restore one's physical state? Why does it feel so great? Jiang Shao was still immersed in that special feeling, but he was pulled into another wonderful sensation. It seems to be someone's embrace? It's so flat. Is it Li Wei? Due to the fact that he was surrounded by the scorching heat and the smell of the cremated corpses, Jiang Shao could not smell the familiar scent immediately. He turned his head slightly and finally saw Han Jiangshue's side profile. She seems really worried about me. But then again, how did she recognize me when I'm wearing a mercenary uniform? On the other hand, Han Jiangshue also felt a sense of comfort when she hugged Jiang Shao. She did not have the burning flame star technique and could only rely on star power attachment to protect herself as much as possible. However, the moment she touched Jiang Shao, a strong wave of star power enveloped her too. Is someone protecting me? Who is it? Who would have the ability and mood to do that? Could it be second last who's burning? Han Jiangshue froze for a moment, for the joy of reunion was always short-lived. However, Han Jiangshue's actions were enough for Jiang Shao to brag about for the rest of his life. It's good that you're alive, Han Jiangshue said softly and let go of Jiang Shao. Jiang Shao pursed his lips and nodded before muttering, that makes sense. Let's fight our way out. Han Jiangshue ignored Jiang Zhao's nagging and turned to look at the entrance of the cave that they came from. She said that there might be enemies invading the underground, Jiang Shao said frantically. Han Jiangshue stared at Jiang Shao coldly and said, this is not a battle you should participate in. We're not qualified. Jiang Shao was slightly stunned and asked, can we rush out? While speaking, Jiang Shao suddenly discovered that the soil beside him had begun to circulate in an orderly manner. Here, they're coming up. Jiang Shao hurriedly retreated and shouted. Hai Tianqing said hurriedly. He looked at the flowing soil with caution and said, don't go in. That's their home ground. It's no different from seeking death. It's not like this is their home field. Standing in the center of the arena, the lava giant controlling the fire tornado finally spoke. It was still a question, and it was still a statement. Hai Tianqing ordered, "Maintain this star technique and stop the white ghouls from entering. Leave the rest to us." However, the fire tornado dissipated at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Lava flowed out of the lava giant's body and dripped onto the ground, making sizzling sounds. "You're no longer my commander." Hai Tianqing's pupils constricted. "We can only benefit from the chaos with the white ghouls. Those who can be sent to attack the holy ground are definitely not simple mercenaries. Their star techniques are monotonous and uniform. Clearly, they've been trained and groomed to carry out a certain type of mission." Second Last stared at Hai Tianqing with a pair of scorching eyes and asked, "Have you seen Captain?" Hai Tianqing shook his head with a sullen expression and said, "We got separated." Second Last looked at the surging soil on the ground and said, "I hope he's holding back the leader of the mercenary corps and not dead." As he spoke, muddy hands curled up from the ground and spread out in all directions like venomous snakes. The enemy did not stick their heads out to observe, and it seemed that they planned to use the mud hands to clear the white ghouls in the holy ground. While retreating, Jiang Shao bent down to grab a handful of star beads and stuffed them into his pocket. The fire tornado burned the white ghouls to death and incinerated their corpses, but the star beads continued to follow the storm of the fire tornado. As the fire tornado dissipated, the ground was filled with glistening white ghoul star beads. Han Jiangshu waved her hand and blew Jiang Shao to the side of her team, seemingly exasperated that Jiang Shao had failed to meet her expectations. Jiang Shao scrambled to grab another handful of star beads and absorbed them without hesitation. Because he knew today is the day for the gold-quality star technique, Green Glow. After going through many battles and continuously absorbing the white ghoul star beads, Jiang Zhao's Green Glow and Endurance had already reached silver quality level 6, 3 out of 10 in his internal star map. If nothing went wrong, he would be able to upgrade his quality after absorbing 37 more. Perhaps he needed the gold quality star technique, Green Glow, for this battle. The slow-witted Jiang Shao also discovered a very serious matter. Due to the fact that his star techniques could be upgraded, the quality of his star techniques did not have much of an effect on him. He did not have to pursue those rare high-quality star bead. After he upgraded his quality, even the low-quality star techniques would produce amazing effects. Hence, there were two considerations for Jiang Shao to consider when choosing star bead. 1. Was the special effect of the star technique powerful enough? 2. Are such star beads very easy to obtain or even to the extent of being abundant? Of course, if the quality of a star bead was extremely high and the special effect was extremely strong, it wouldn't matter if it was large or not. However, Jiang Shao could hardly come into contact with such star beads at the current stage. At this moment, Jiang Shao possessed Green Glow and Endurance. The repelling effect of Green Glow couldn't be any better. When his Endurance was upgraded to Platinum or even Diamond quality, would it be comparable to the Russian mercenary who had a body of steel? If it still couldn't compare, what about upgrading the quality? Look at the white ghoul star beads all over the ground. Not to mention gold-quality star techniques, as long as Jiang Shao maintained a good relationship with Second Last, he would be able to upgrade Green Glow and Endurance to Diamond quality in a few days and nights. People don't know what's above Diamond quality, do they? After spending a few months here, Jiang Shao would be able to let the world know what a master-level Green Glow was. He would even let everyone know what a king-level Green Glow was. Regardless of how weak I am or whether I can break through your defense, I can throw you from the city center to the suburbs with a single punch. Do you want to clock in and not be late for work? Do you want to go home immediately after school to play games? Do you want to catch them in the act but are afraid that you won't be fast enough and end up alerting the adulterous couple? As long as your skin is thick enough, come and find me. I'm willing to send you off. Chapter 109. A head slowly emerged from the soil and carefully tried to observe the situation in the holy ground. However, the moment his eyes emerged from the soil, a pair of sharp claws directly pierced through his head and took the opportunity to pull his corpse out and throw it out of the ruins, causing a fight among the white ghouls. Second Last's right hand was covered in blood and flesh, after which she took out a bunch of things. As her steel palm was covered in flames, the large amount of flesh and blood that she had taken out was burnt up, revealing a star bead that was shining brightly. Without hesitation, Second Last scurried to another location while absorbing the star bead in her hand and joining in the game of whack-a-mole again. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. As the large number of white ghouls surged in, Jiang Shao no longer tried to be stingy with his skill points. Hence, he immediately threw 5 skill points into the basic technique, Dagger Proficiency. The dagger proficiency that was originally brass quality level 5 was upgraded to silver quality level 0. If he wanted to increase it by another small level, he would need 10 skill points. At this moment, while absorbing the white ghoul star beads, various moves and techniques appeared in Jiang Zhao's mind, and his body began to tremble uncontrollably. He then pulled out his dagger from the side of his thigh. He seemed to have been immersed in that technique for several years, which gave Jiang Shao a sense of security. While leaving a mark on his teammates' bodies, Jiang Shao continued to absorb the white ghoul star bead. The scene in the holy ground was simply mind-blowing. The white ghouls and white ghoul which star beads were scattered all over the ground and rolling around. It was just like a mountain of gold. Finally, the white ghouls swarmed in from all directions, and another piece of information appeared in Jiang Zhao's mind. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. Second Last. I praise you. Internal star map, please don't judge me to be in the same team as Han Jiangxue, Li Wei, and Xia Yan. Please continue to let me stay in Second Last's team. After losing the 2 generals, the gophers beneath their feet seemed to have calmed down significantly. Their enemies had also changed from the mercenaries beneath their feet to the white ghouls that were swarming in from all directions. Just like Jiang Shao, Hai Tianqing picked up a handful of star beads from the ground and absorbed them quickly. He then stuck a sapphire scepter into the ground again. However, this time, the shooting sapphires did not cause indiscriminate damage. They did not electrocute Hai Tianqing or any of his teammates. Could it be that this kind of attack also had the imprint technique of imprint? Jiang Shao thought about it and realized that Hai Tianqing didn't touch his body at all. Could it be that light yellow gemstone scepter from before? Wasn't it supposed to help everyone recover? Does it have an imprint effect? This could only be explained by the pale yellow scepter. After all, it was the scepter that shone on everyone when the holy ground was emptied. With a bitter expression, Li Wei carried his shield and protected everyone while retreating to a corner of the stone wall. If we don't go down, the other party won't come out. However, these white ghouls will be able to exhaust us to death. As he spoke, waves of soil surged, transforming into a muddy swamp. Countless muddy dragons scuttled out, binding all living creatures and dragging them into the flowing muddy river. Even without the muddy dragons binding them, their ankles had already sunk into the muddy river, and it was only a matter of time before they were engulfed. Swamp! Li Wei exclaimed in shock. At the instant he spoke, Li Wei's leg was suddenly tied up by a muddy snake and dragged downwards quickly. Hai Tianqing frantically grabbed Li Wei's palm and pulled him upwards. Jiang Shao and the other children didn't know, but the Guardians of the Night knew very well that the rare gold-quality star techniques like Mud River and Mud Marsh were only possessed by the mercenary team leaders and the deputy mercenary leaders. Now that Muddy Swamp had appeared, what happened to One Tail who was fighting with the mercenary leader? Had he already been defeated and died? Captain. Second last stomped on the head of a white ghoul and crushed it with her charcoal face. There shouldn't have been much of an expression on her face, but she lowered her long and narrow eyes. The devil-like second last revealed a rare look of sorrow. Are you like me, begging a passerby to bring the news of your death back to your hometown? Her sorrowful words were drowned out by the roars of the white ghouls. She was just like a hero who hid his identity and eventually died. Few people knew about him and no one cared about him. In the end, he was drowned in the tides of history. Second last, who had sunk into melancholy, continued to fight, but she seemed to have lost her spirituality. The bloodthirsty and murderous aura slowed down, and she seemed to be immersed in another world. Ring ring ring. The crisp and melodious sound of the bell woke second last up abruptly. She grabbed the white ghoul that was shrieking in pain and pushed its body forward, while staring at Jiang Shao with a pair of scorching red eyes. Speak! Jiang Shao yelled out loud. The three students in front of him were slightly bewildered. Second last continuously kicked the white ghouls along the way and used them as a cushion to slow herself down. The person who used Muddy Swamp is the same as the person we killed in the snowfield. I'm the only one who can knock him out. Are you trying to perish together with me again? Jiang Shao asked sternly. Han Jiangxue controlled Baron Wind and looked at Jiang Shao in bewilderment while carrying the team. She had never seen Jiang Shao so serious before, and she couldn't even imagine that the carefree and playful Jiang Shao would be so stern. How long has it been? He laughed. He was mischievous. He rolled his eyes helplessly and muttered in disdain. She had never seen him angry before. Second last's sullen face changed all of a sudden and her eyes widened in horror. You're lecturing me? Yes, Jiang Shao answered without hesitation while frantically absorbing the white ghoul star beads. Why did a white ghoul witch star bead come in? Don't create trouble here. What solution do you have? Second last's large figure slaughtered the white ghouls agilely and pressed them under her feet to slow down the downward momentum. Even though she was bitten by the white ghouls' sharp teeth and claws, they couldn't break through her defense at all. Instead, the white ghouls felt that their hands were burning hot. Solutions are thought of by humans. Where is that person? Jiang Shao yelled. Second last stopped moving and seemed to have realized that Jiang Shao already had a plan. She hadn't interacted with Jiang Shao for a long time, but ever since he rescued her from the shackles, Second last had a rough understanding of him after observing his thoughts and reactions along the way. This kid can be trusted. Second last's charcoal-like nose twitched a little, and her large body was immediately swarmed by the white ghouls. As a result, the white ghouls shrieked and scrambled to avoid the lava giant. Clear the area, Jiang Shao said frantically. He then said to Han Jiangxue, get closer to her. Hurry, just the two of us. I can't control my strength if there are too many of us. Han Jiangxue's brows were tightly furrowed. Faced with a battle of life and death, she was struggling internally. Option 1. Fly out of the holy ground with Jiang Shao and try to escape. Option 2. Listen to Jiang Zhao's instructions and disperse the enemy's attack. Han Jiangxue was a little hesitant. Second last flung the white ghouls on her away. Her powerful strength was not something the white ghouls could resist at all. She easily broke free from the claws of the white ghouls and used the white ghouls that swarmed in as a floor. She then arrived directly below the light. You have to be my commander, Second last said with a smirk. Second last asked with a smirk, seeming to be out of place in the chaotic and dangerous battlefield. You can say that, Jiang Shao answered. At the next moment, Jiang Shao and Han Jiangxue flew to Second last's side. In the end, Xia Yan and Li Wei made Han Jiangxue choose to give it a try. The two of them had risked their lives to accompany Han Jiangxue there. Hence, it was difficult for her to make the decision to escape with Jiang Shao. She decided to trust him once again, just like she had been doing for the past few months. Clear the area, hurry! Jiang Shao frantically urged. Second last spread her hands out and tilted her head back slightly, after which the fire tornado struck again. Han Jiangxue continuously blew the white ghouls out of the safe zone and into the fire tornado. Second last's body stepped on the muddy soil and continued to descend. However, the fire tornado was activated resolutely and the soil was also swept up, quickly piling up towards the center where second last was standing. Second last, you're crazy. Hai Tianqing hollered furiously from afar. The range of the fire tornado was just right and it did not hurt him because he was leaning against the wall. However, he seemed to have seen the scene of second last committing suicide. Are you sure he's below? Jiang Shao asked loudly as he watched the mud dragons being crushed by the flames. I'm sure. The mud swamp had submerged second last's knees, and there were even several mud snakes that wrapped around her and dragged her down quickly. Han Jiangxue, pay attention to your sky smasher. Second last, throw the target into Han Jiangxue's space star technique as soon as you see him. Don't explode with him. As he spoke, Jiang Shao raised his fist, which was covered in a dense green glow. In Jiang Zhao's internal star map, the Big Dipper star map, the second star slot had already become a dazzling gold quality. Green glow upgraded. Gold quality level 0. Endurance upgraded. Gold quality level 0. Bang! A large pit was blasted in the sticky mud swamp, causing the soil to splatter and the star power to overflow. Hai Tianqing was dumbfounded and forgot to put the white ghoul under his feet as he stared at Jiang Shao dumbfoundedly. That's the gold quality star technique, Mud Swamp. No matter how strong you are and how abundant your star power is, you won't be able to create a large pit with a single punch. Your fist will only sink into the swamp and be confined. Hence, the only thing that can repel the soil is green glow. However, is that really the effect that green glow should have? Even if Jiang Zhao's green glow is of silver quality, it shouldn't have such a powerful repelling effect. At this moment, Hai Tianqing suddenly thought of an old friend. Staring at Jiang Zhao's powerful green glow, the beautiful figure in Hai Tianqing's mind gradually overlapped with Jiang Zhao's figure. Boom, boom, boom. Jiang Shao continuously smashed downwards, and the repelling effect of the gold-quality green glow was unparalleled. That was how he was. He used the basic divine techniques that had grown up with the people of Beijiang for generations. Chapter 110. Whoosh! Unknowingly, the flowing mud suddenly stopped. The undulating waves of mud finally maintained this form, with only debris falling off from time to time. Directly below the portal was a pit that also maintained its state, but its final appearance was rather peculiar. Due to the fact that the soil at the top was the first to be blasted away, the soil at the top continuously surged and recovered after Jiang Shao and the others dug a hole in the ground like pangolins. Hence, the pit at the top was the smallest, and the deeper they went, the larger it became. Xia Yan and Li Wei were still in a state of shock as they stood in the corner, half of their bodies already submerged in the soil. Fortunately, the white ghouls in front of them would block the mud hands when they swept past. They watched helplessly as the white ghouls were dragged into the ground one after another. They had had enough of the horrifying feeling. Hai Tianqing also used the white ghouls as cover and retreated to a corner of the cave, sticking close to the wall. He had already stepped on countless white ghouls, but the soil was still shallow enough to submerge his ankles. He gently lifted his feet and resumed his normal movement. In the holy ground, the team's enemies had once again become the white ghouls that were surging over from all directions. Did you succeed? Xia Yan asked in surprise and joy. Attack, Xia Yan. Li Wei carried the black shield cautiously and stood beside Xia Yan. The black shield had already expanded to a certain extent and was about to envelop both of their bodies. He could only hear the ding-ding-dong-dong sounds of the white ghouls hitting the black shield. Xia Yan said, I need a sword. Li Wei was speechless. Give me an opening, Xia Yan continued while pulling her thigh out of the soil with difficulty. She then clenched her right fist and covered it with flames. Li Wei's shield was suffering fewer and fewer blows. Due to the fact that Hai Tianqing had rushed over, the safety of the team was temporarily guaranteed. The melee combat of the team might not be outstanding enough, and they might not be able to be the vanguard to fight their way out of the white ghouls. Perhaps the team did not have a powerful rules awakened that could turn the situation around. However, the team's defense was very solid and they wouldn't die anytime soon. The only thing that could defeat them was time and stamina. In the underground tunnel, Jiang Shao was panting and sweating profusely with the two girls. Ever since they fell into the tunnel, they knew that they might be surrounded by enemies. At the instant that Han Jiangshu landed on the ground, she immediately activated Sky Smasher and watched as Second Last fought with a burly man for only 2 rounds. The sounds of metal colliding could be heard. A ray of blessing shone down and Second Last took advantage of the moment when the burly mercenary's body stiffened to push him into Sky Smasher. Han Jiangxue was dumbfounded by their teamwork. Since when did his little brother cooperate so well with the Night Guardian God? From this moment onwards, Second Last seemed to have become a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. She tore apart the hard but no longer pliable soil on her body and dashed towards the inside of the tunnel with a murderous look in her eyes. "Wait!" Jiang Shao hurriedly said. Second Last stopped abruptly and turned around to stare at Jiang Shao with her crimson eyes. Her breath was scorching hot, making it hard to tell if she could control the ferocity and wildness in her heart. "Ask them to come down. We'll fight our way out of this tunnel." Jiang Shao subconsciously took a step back. No matter what, he couldn't get used to Second Last's ferocious gaze. "You go." Second Last raised her head and gestured at Han Jiangshu. Han Jiangshu remained silent and a gust of barren wind swept up beneath her feet. In a short while, several figures landed. Jiang Shao couldn't be bothered to explain and frantically asked everyone to move forward. He went to the back and punched the ground with his left and right fists, after which the tunnel was instantly filled with soil, cutting off the path of retreat. The white ghouls that swarmed in could only howl and scream. The tunnel was 2.5 meters tall and was wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. Ever since the back was blocked, Second Last's lava body had become the only source of light in the tunnel. "Very good," Second Last praised Jiang Shao in a hoarse voice, which was rare for her. Jiang Shao cast a blessing on himself and said in a slightly different tone, "Tell me their exact location. I'll take you to them." Second Last tilted her head to the left and right while drops of lava flowed down. After standing still for a few seconds, she strode forward. "Hurry up and catch up. Let's fight our way out," Jiang Shao said frantically and absorbed another handful of star beads. At this moment, he was so extravagant that he felt like he had gotten rich overnight. He was no longer absorbing star beads one by one, but by handfuls. It couldn't be helped because the gold-quality star technique, green glow, consumed too much star power. For Jiang Shao, who was at Stardust Stage Level 9, his star power would be completely depleted after 5 green glow. While absorbing the star beads, Jiang Shao walked towards Second Last, who had stopped abruptly. At this moment, the soil had already turned into normal soil and was no longer flexible. However, Second Last had a clear understanding of her own abilities. She knew that no matter how strong she was, she couldn't achieve the level of green glow that Jiang Shao had achieved. To Jiang Shao, normal soil was easier to smash. At this moment, Jiang Shao transformed into a member of the elite class of Lanxiang Technical School and began digging frantically, opening up a tunnel diagonally downwards. Taking advantage of the fact that the star beads that he had just absorbed were still being replenished with star power, Jiang Shao gained a better control of the fire. After a few consecutive punches, he finally blasted open the door to a new world. Before Jiang Shao could react, second last had already knocked him to the ground like a wild beast, pouncing on a clueless mercenary even though he was fully alert. Although Jiang Shao was only a rookie in the Stardust stage, he was qualified to be second last's teammate because of the unprecedented gold-quality green glow that had been forcefully enhanced. Han Jiangshue's team, including Hai Tianqing, never expected that the usually cheerful Jiang Shao would be the turning point of the battle. At this moment, no one dared to cause trouble or ask Jiang Shao why his green glow was so powerful. Han Jiangshu and Xia Yan, on the other hand, knew that Xia Yan's right hand was burning with flames that were providing light. The two of them looked at each other and saw a complicated glint in each other's eyes. Some people couldn't be stopped. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. Leapfrogging, skill point +5. 10 people slashes, skill point +1. Galaxy 10 kills, skill point +5. Skill points, 59. Awesome. Jiang Shao was overjoyed. It seemed that ever since Jiang Shao led Han Jiangshue to second last side, the internal star map had automatically identified the three of them as a team. Jiang Shao seemed to have become the temporary commander of the team. In this deformed team of three, the healer became the vanguard and the melee excavator. The rules awakened, Han Jiangshue became the support and a walking backpack. The rules awakened, Han Jiangshue became the support and a walking backpack. The only melee combatant had almost turned into a beast as well. He had lost his rationality and turned into a ferocious star pet. Logically speaking, Jiang Shao and Han Jiangshue were extremely weak compared to second last. However, both of them had extremely special and powerful star technique. The two of them relied on their special star techniques to sneak into second last's team. In such a battle, the two of them were even more powerful than ordinary guardians of the night. Of course, Xia Yan and Li Wei, who were at the same level as Han Jiangshue, were in a much more miserable state. The group of people followed second last and waited for her to stop from time to sniff around before continuing on their way. However, everyone ran further and further away, and second last did not ask Jiang Shao to clear the tunnel again. When second last stopped in her tracks again, she was looking diagonally upwards. That seemed to be a good sign. Those who deceived everyone had already been slaughtered, and those who attracted the attention should be punished. He's still alive, second last said in a quivering voice, her crimson eyes much less menacing. Hai Tianqing asked, Really? One Tail is still alive? Second last sniffed and said, He's diagonally above us. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and support them, Jiang Shao said as he scurried over. For the sake of earning skill points, no. Jiang Shao would do anything to protect his companions. The Han family is the vanguard of the Wasteland Reclaimers. The Guardians of the Night are like brothers. I, Jiang Shao, as a descendant of the Wasteland Reclaimers, of course, I have to hold on to my star pet. Chapter 111. Due to the fact that there were groups of white ghouls all over the mountains and wilderness, the mercenary team that was in charge of attracting the firepower on the surface had sealed the top of the mud wall maze. The group of people shuttled back and forth in the complicated maze while second last took the lead. Jiang Shao followed behind them and finally returned to his position, which was in the middle of the team. From time to time, he would throw out bell or cast a blessing on second last after she killed the enemy. Hai Tianqing and Li Wei naturally went to the back of the team to cover for the rest. Jiang Shao enjoyed the thrill of leapfrogging, while winning comfortably all the way. By the time everyone met up with the captain of the firefighting team, Jiang Zhao's skill points had already reached 104 points. As one of the captains of the Guardians of the Night, first last, his abilities were unquestionable. Apart from the slight excitement he felt when he first met second last, he soon regained his composure. From the exchange of information between the captain and second last, Jiang Shao finally found out that there were other groups of people fighting to protect the snowfield in a place that they didn't know about. Back then, Jiang Shao had taken the shortest path to the holy ground under second last's lead. They passed through the mountains and reached the holy ground without taking any detours. Otherwise, Jiang Shao would have seen the guardians of the night and the mercenary corps everywhere. Logically speaking, the holy ground was the foundation of everything and was of utmost importance. Once it was destroyed, the other space-time tunnels in the snowfield would slowly collapse. Hence, the holy ground would be the place where the enemies would attack the most fiercely. However, in reality, the snowfield was now in chaos. According to First Last, there were already 2 space-time tunnels in the southwest area that had been cut off by the mercenary corps. When another light-chasing team arrived and defeated the mercenary team, the space-time tunnel had already collapsed and the local guardians of the night had also suffered heavy casualties. Light-chasing team? It was Jiang Zhao's first time hearing that name. He also finally found out which team second last belonged to. She was from the light-chasing team under the Guardians of the Night. The Guardians of the Night were an extremely special team in China, and the light-chasing team was even more special. They could be called the Guardians of the Night or the Guardians of the Night, because that was the name of their army. Of course, they were known as the light-chasing team within the Guardians of the Night. The light chasers were different from the Guardians of the Night. They would not set up a prison in a specific dimensional space. Instead, they were like what Jiang Shao referred to them in private as the Fire Brigade. They would be there when there was danger in the dimensional space. In comparison, the light-chasing team was a highly mobile team, and it was possible that they would be on standby for a long period of time. Of course, it was more likely that they would receive a mission one day and rush to the battlefield at top speed, only to die instantly. The so-called preparation did not mean going home to prepare for duty, and it was impossible for them to indulge in debauchery. Usually, they would be training or patrolling in some dimensional spaces according to the rotation system to familiarize themselves with the terrain and the local guardians of the night. However, the light-chasing team and the guardians of the night were that the of the night. Were that they were to that they were of were to be to was that they were to was that of the team. And for example, there were a total of 11 guardians of the night in the team of 16 that Jiang Shao had gathered, but the commander-in-chief was a light chaser. Apart from the captain of second last's team, Jiang Shao also saw a full team of light chasers. The commander-in-chief of the 16 of them, who was also the commander of the light-chasing team, was a male rules awakened who was about 40 years old. Be it the guardians of the night or the light chasers, they were all a little surprised to see Jiang Zhao's team. Where did these kids come from? When they heard second last explain that the underground mercenary corps that had attacked the holy ground had been completely killed, everyone had an interesting expression on their faces. The male commander, who was about 40 years old, looked at second last and then at Hai Tianqing, who was at the end of the team. He then nodded gently in agreement with second last's words. The male commander made a prompt decision to lead his team of 4 and a group of guardians of the night into the holy ground to continue guarding the portal. He also hoped that Captain One-Tail could destroy the mercenary corps that were everywhere. The male commander said that they would only withdraw from the holy ground until the grand battle was completely over. Captain One-Tail immediately agreed and joined up with second last and Hai Tianqing, who was originally their teammate, to begin providing support according to the information provided by the Guardians of the Night. After leaving the holy ground and the sea of white ghouls, they finally resumed their normal battle mode. To Jiang Zhao's dismay, Captain One-Tail hoped that the team of students could leave the snowfield. Although Captain One-Tail looked cold and aloof, he was very polite and sincerely thanked the children for their efforts. However, everyone could tell that he wanted to get rid of the burdens for the sake of the children's safety. On the other hand, the presence of the children would also disrupt their rhythm. Captain One-Tail had temporarily commandeered Hai Tianqing, who had already been expelled. He would lead the team according to the route given by the Guardians of the Night. Under the premise that the route overlapped, he would escort the team of students to a certain supply point, where the Guardians would take over and escort the students out of the snowfield. Han Jiangxue had no objections to that. In fact, apart from Jiang Shao, the other three had no objections. It was not a battle that they should be participating in at their age and level. Jiang Shao was the only one who felt a little lost. What a thick thigh. We're going to have to part ways before we can even hug. Points. Su Li, second last said in a hoarse voice while walking. It turned out that Captain One-Tail's real name was Su Li. So, why didn't anyone address second last by her name? Almost everyone that she met would address her as second last, even the team members that she was extremely familiar with. They walked in the snowfield and did not choose to cross the snowy mountains again. Instead, they headed all the way to the north. Second last whispered something into Captain Su Li's ear, but the five of them couldn't hear her clearly because of the howling cold wind. However, Su Li turned around and looked at Jiang Shao in bewilderment, allowing everyone to guess what second last meant. Jiang Shao got an idea. Bring me along. Let me cheer for you from behind. Please bring me along. Second last's thigh is so thick and long. The burly Su Li is also more than 2 meters tall and his legs can't be too thin. I've already participated in the most difficult battles and won them by surprise. I've had a lot of fun. Now we're just going around to rescue the Guardians of the Night. Those mercenaries can't be better than those who are attacking the holy ground, right? All of a sudden, Jiang Shao felt that his arm was being held by someone. He turned around and saw Han Jiangshue's worried expression before his burning gaze faded away. All of a sudden, Jiang Shao gradually calmed down. From Jiang Zhao's point of view, he would gain more from advancing and retreating with the high-level light-chasing team. However, from Han Jiangshue's point of view, Jiang Shao would find it difficult to learn anything from such battles. Instead, he would face great danger. The benefits and risks were completely disproportionate. He really only had one life. Even if the benefits were proportional to the risks, she would still be worried about Jiang Shao. Just like Han Jiangxue once said, "He's the only one I have." Jiang Shao was still struggling with himself and thinking about how he should be happy. However, things didn't develop as he imagined. Second last didn't want to bring Jiang Shao along at all. She simply whispered a simple sentence into Captain Su Li's ear. However, her words left Su Li speechless. Chapter 112. 17 days later, in the snowfield, Jiang Zhao's team of 4 was holed up in a cave. The cave was very big and crowded with people. A circle of awakened ones sat around the huge bonfire. There were the 4 students of Jiang Zhao's team, as well as some awakened from society. Similarly, there were also plenty of soldiers who were collectively known as the Guardians. Ever since Jiang Zhao's team of 4 was escorted to this supply point by the light chasers 17 days ago, he had no choice but to watch the 3 of them leave quickly and gradually disappear in the snow. Okay. How should he put it? Jiang Shao felt like he had been abandoned after sleeping with her. Have you forgotten that I risked my life for you? I risked my life to go through thick and thin with you. I could go up the snowy mountain and down the tunnel. I could get out of the maze and enter the holy ground. Have you forgotten all these beautiful memories? Do you still remember that old crooked tree beside the holy ground? It's King staring at you. You heartless woman. You betrayed your master, you astral pet. I know I'm slow, but you can carry me on your back. What's the use of the armed belt? Is it used to store weapons? It's clearly used as a rope. I can give you blessing when you're tired. I can ring your bell when you're injured. You don't want me anymore when you have Hai Tianqing. Wow. I feel terrible. Are you bored? Li Wei stood up from the bonfire and walked towards a bed in the corner of the resting area. Seeing that Jiang Shao was lying down and playing with his fingers, he sat down beside him. Boring. You're just like a prisoner, Jiang Shao said while pursing his lips. Indeed, although they were not prisoners, under such special circumstances, their freedom was restricted by the Guardian Army. There were quite a number of awakened ones staying here. Among them, there was no lack of social experiencers. However, when it came to the restriction of personal freedom, the most they could do was talk about it. In this snowfield, very few people dared to confront the soldiers. After all, this was not the normal and orderly world outside. Jiang Shao did not have the awareness of being a thorn either. Without second last by his side, Jiang Shao could not intimidate others. Hence, his combat power plummeted. His combat power plummeted. His combat power plummeted. After much thought, he realized that Xia Yan was the only one in the team who had the qualifications to be a star pet. He planned to train and nurture Xia Yan well in the future and see if he could train a ferocious star pet. If the four of them were to face the mercenary group, the odds were against them. Apart from Han Jiangshue's Sky Smasher, the four of them basically did not have any star techniques that could hurt each other. After all, those mercenaries were all Galaxy Stage awakened ones. They were not something that these Stardust and Nebula Stage children could compare to. Second last could cut through the mercenaries effortlessly and definitely wouldn't let him have any doubts about his own strength. Your green glow is very outstanding. I heard that it's of silver quality, Li Wei said with a smile. Jiang Shao raised his eyebrows and casually answered, "Oh," Li Wei said softly, "you rarely light up your star map at any point in time. For example, you didn't light up your star map during the battle with the school tyrant, Gao Junwei, or even during the battle in the Holy Ground." Jiang Shao froze for a moment, but before he could say anything, he heard some sounds coming from above. The beds in the resting area were bunk beds. Jiang Shao was on the bottom bunk, while Han Jiangxue was on the top bunk. At this moment, Han Jiangxue was sitting on the bed and leaning against the headboard, holding a book that she had borrowed from the Guardian. She placed her other hand on the side of the bed, curled a finger, and gently knocked on the metal plate on the edge of the bed, causing a crisp sound to be heard. Li Wei stood up. Being 1.77 centimeters tall, he could easily look at Han Jiangshue's face. "I know you're doing this out of goodwill because you want to understand Xiaopi's strength better." Han Jiangxue flipped a page of the book with her fair and slender fingers and continued, "Xiaopi's strength will be clearly displayed in our battles. We'll get along very well." "Okay," Li Wei muttered to himself and did not give a direct response. Han Jiangxue continued, "He has a low self-esteem. Ever since he graduated from high school and awakened his star map, he has been mocked by everyone around him. I hope you can understand his difficulties." A person with 9 star slots was indeed the lowest of the low. Li Wei, who had 25 star slots, received all sorts of envy and admiration every day. Naturally, he couldn't understand how an awakened with 9 star slots felt. He had never considered things from such a perspective before. Hence, when Han Jiangxue said those words, Li Wei froze in shock. Jiang Shao was stunned too. "What did I hear? Han Jiangxue is actually lying? She's the kind of person who would never lie. Just how much does she care about me?" Han Jiangshue's cold and aloof face became a protective shield. Li Wei didn't notice her discomfort. After all, she had always been cold and aloof. Jiang Shao took advantage of the situation and laughed self-deprecatingly. He said, "I'm indeed a little traumatized. Even when I was in the Holy Ground, I still felt reluctant to show my star map. I've been mocked too many times." In fact, there were some contradictions in his words. When Jiang Shao first came into contact with Li Wei and sparred with him, he once lit up his star map for the sake of testing if the strongest silver-quality green glow could break Li Wei's shield. Xia Yan, who was lying on the bed next door, looked at Li Wei with pity. She watched as Li Wei was deceived by the demon siblings, only to be glared at by Han Jiangshu all of a sudden. Xia Yan subconsciously cringed and stuck her tongue out at Han Jiangshu while giggling. Next, Xia Yan strode towards Han Jiangshu's bed and snuggled into her arms while Han Jiangshu stared at her in disdain. "What are you looking at? Why are you so engrossed?" "Evolution by devouring. I borrowed it from the soldiers. The people in the book are similar to us. They have special abilities." Han Jiangshu answered casually and pushed Xia Yan's head. In the end, she gave up on the urge to kick Xia Yan off the bed because of her coquettish behavior. "Is that so? Are there any special abilities that overlap with ours?" Xia Yan asked with interest. The female protagonist's lava form is similar to second last star technique in the Holy Ground. I reckon the author of this book has seen such a star technique in real life. Han Jiangshu shook her head. Xia Yan pursed her lips and said, "This author is really lazy. He actually copied it into the book." "The male protagonist is quite interesting," Han Jiangshu said casually. "Huh." Jiang Shao sat up straight and asked, "What kind of man are you interested in?" Han Jiangshu stomped her foot, after which a loud thud came from the bed, seemingly warning Jiang Shao. "The male protagonist seems to have a high IQ. He's good at reasoning, analyzing, and is proficient in psychology, criminal psychology, micro-expressions." Jiang Shao asked, "Do you like people who can read minds? How tiring would it be to be with such people?" Han Jiangshu said calmly, "I just know what kind of extracurricular books I should choose for you." "Well said." Jiang Shao said firmly. "I choose the 5-year college entrance examination and the 3-year mock exam. Everyone, pay attention." The soldiers' voices suddenly sounded from afar. "You have half an hour to prepare. We'll set off for Earth." His words made the people in the supply point get excited. On the upper bunk, Xia Yan lay on Han Jiangshu's body and stuck her head out while holding onto the edge of the metal bed. Xia Yan looked at Jiang Shao with a grin and said, "You said it yourself. I'll buy it for you." Chapter 113. On Earth, Jiannan Town had been completely sealed off. There were people from all walks of life outside Jiannan Town. Some were there to watch the fun, some were news reporters, some were volunteer teams, some were parents of students, and there were even some were family members of the experiencers. In the past 10 days, the students of Jiangbin High School walked out of Jiannan Village one after another, and the onlookers also had a feast for their eyes. It was really a feast for the eyes. Due to the fact that the students had chosen the safest route in the northwest, most of them managed to walk out safely under the escort of the guardians. However, there were more experiencers who were training in various areas of the snowfield. Every time a person walked out of the snowfield and was allowed to walk out of Jiannan Village after a strict inspection, they would attract a large number of onlookers. Some of them were crying, some were laughing, some were arguing, and some were making a ruckus. There were 4 people in a team, and their families were gathered together. 2 of them showed up, while the other 2 never returned. Extreme emotions were displayed on the faces of the people who were close to them. It made them feel emotional. People always said that China was a society of relationships and relationship. Very few people denied that, but this time, the military seemed to have issued a strict order. Even Xia Shanhai, a former member of the Wasteland Reclaimers, could not enter Jiannan Village and had no choice but to wait outside obediently. Xia Shanhai also saw some familiar figures. He saw the parents of his daughter's classmates and also saw them leaving with their children who were still in shock with tears streaming down their faces. The number of parents decreased one by one, and in the end, Xia Shanhai saw that there was only one family of parents who had yet to wait for their children to return. They were from the Li family. In the past month, Li Changshuo's father still hadn't appeared and he reckoned that he should be carrying out a mission. However, Li Changshuo's mother, a public official of the Jiangbin City Procuratorate, had been waiting there for a long time. The strong mother looked haggard and dispirited, but she had never cried. She had been waiting for a miracle to appear while being accompanied by her loved ones. There was a girl who cried until her eyes were red and swollen. As time passed, the girl seemed to be on the verge of a mental breakdown. Xia Shanhai knew her. As Xia Yan's father, he cared about his daughter very much even though he didn't communicate much with her. He had done a thorough investigation on the family backgrounds of the members of his daughter's team. The girl who had cried until her tears dried up was Li Qingmei. She was the childhood sweetheart of the Li family's son. Her parents had accompanied her for a few days, but in the end, her father forcibly brought her back for the sake of taking care of her. However, after a few days, she ran over again and stayed there foolishly. Li Qingmei's parents now took turns to look after their daughter, and they no longer forced her to go home. They also asked for leave from school. Seeing their daughter becoming haggard day by day, their parents felt pain in their hearts. If Li Wei could really get out of it, his parents would probably do their best to interfere with his future. The Li of families, of the other of Ji of Bai and of the of the of Xia Shanhai was considered an insider. Relatively speaking, he had a better understanding of the dangers of being an awakened. Although he understood, his heart was also bleeding. His wife, who was beside him, had already lost a lot of weight. She was holding on with a glimmer of hope until she received some real news. Regardless of whether the news was good or bad, Xia Shanhai could predict that the moment his wife's tense nerves relaxed a little, it would be the beginning of a serious illness. Amidst the noisy crowd, there was an ordinary-looking man who had been standing there all this while. He was just like an ordinary citizen who joined in the fun. He had an ordinary face, his hair was combed in the middle, and he was wearing a slightly worn-out brown leather jacket. He was about 180 centimeters tall, and no one noticed him when he was in the crowd. All of a sudden, the eyes of the man in the brown leather jacket lit up as he saw a group of people slowly walking out of the entrance of Jiannan village. All of a sudden, the people who were guarding there got into an uproar. The team of volunteers was the loudest, and they cheered, whistled, and waved the small Chinese flag, as if they were welcoming their compatriots who had returned safely from overseas. For the families of the awakened, there were some who were happy and some who were sad. One by one, the scenes of people reuniting with each other or crying while hugging each other were presented in front of everyone. As the awakened were taken away one by one, the volunteers immediately stepped forward and forcefully pushed away the reporters who had placed their microphones in the mouths of the awakened. Volunteers surrounded the awakened who had not been taken away. They gave them clothes and food and drove vehicles to send these awakened who had no one to welcome them home or to the hospital. Every time someone walked out, it would be a huge blow to Li Qingmei. Her great expectations were met with great disappointment. She still didn't see Li Wei in the team. She simply felt dazed and her legs became unstable. She tilted her body and fell into her mother's arms. Li Qingmei's mother and Li Wei's mother were colleagues, and both of them were equally depressed. However, they had no choice but to support Li Qingmei. Just when Li Qingmei felt that the whole world was about to leave her, the familiar sounds of cheering filled the air again. She had heard such sounds countless times before. Someone came out again. Li Qingmei felt that there was a glimmer of light in the darkness in front of her. She held onto her mother's shoulder and tried her best to stand up. She then looked past the crowd and saw a familiar figure. Li Qingmei was dumbfounded, and she stood rooted to the ground in a daze. Li Wei's mother, who had always been strong, covered her mouth with one hand. At this moment, tears gushed out of her eyes uncontrollably. Li Wei pushed the crowd away and dashed forward quickly. Xia Yan also saw her parents and her mother, who looked anxious and worried. She hurriedly scurried over. Jiang Xiao and Han Jiangxue looked at each other and felt a little complicated when they saw such a scene. To Jiang Zhao's surprise, A group of unfamiliar young people quickly surrounded the siblings and asked about their well-being. The siblings were a little touched and confused at the same time. Xiaopi! Xiaopi! Xia Yan shrieked from afar. Jiang Shao hurriedly pushed the crowd away, only to see that Xia Yan was hugging a middle-aged woman who had fainted and was yelling anxiously. Without hesitation, Jiang Shao raised his hand and gave her a blessing. "Over here, Xiaopi." Li Wei's voice was heard too. Jiang Shao looked over, only to see that Li Wei was hugging Li Qingmei, who was crying so hard that she was about to convulse, with his left hand and his mother in his arms. At the side, Li Qingmei's mother, who was also Li Wei's future mother-in-law, was also stroking Li Wei's arm with reddened eyes and an agitated expression. "We're already miserable enough, and you're still trying to show me that you're a winner in life?" Despite complaining, Jiang Shao took the opportunity to give Li Qingmei a ray of blessing. Accompanied by Li Qingmei's beautiful and alluring voice, Jiang Shao felt that the entire world had quietened down. Among the crowd who were watching the fun from afar, a man in a brown leather jacket smiled and turned around to leave. As the man got into a taxi, the driver in front said, "I really hope our people are safe and sound. These people are really pitiful." "Yes." The driver asked, "Where are we going?" The man said, "Dongqing District, Huayuan Estate." Before Jiang Shao and his sister were sent home by the school, the man in the brown leather jacket returned to Huayuan Estate, got into the elevator, and went straight to the 7th floor. Chapter 114. Jiangbin City, Dongqing District, Room 701, Building G7, Huayuan Estate. At this moment, Han Jiangxue walked out of the bathroom while holding a towel in one hand and drying her long, black hair. Her face was flushed like a tempting peach that made one want to take a bite out of it. When Jiang Shao saw Han Jiangxue pushing open the door to his room, he felt his heart beating faster. After staying in the snowfield for a month, even the white ghoul which felt that she was rather good-looking, let alone the aloof and pure Jiang Shao. Her rosy cheeks made her cold and aloof aura seem much gentler and more human. "Are you done showering?" Han Jiangxue asked while drying her hair and sitting on Jiang Zhao's single bed. I've showered a long time ago," Jiang Shao answered. Han Jiangxue had showered in the bathroom in his parents' bedroom, while Jiang Shao had showered in the bathroom in the living room. "Accompany me to get a haircut later," Han Jiangxue said as she pulled a corpse out of Sky Smasher. The heartwarming scene was immediately disrupted as a corpse appeared on the floor of Jiang Zhao's room. "When we were in the snowfield, Second Last threw him into my Sky Smasher, but she didn't ask me for it when she left," Han Jiangxue said. "This person has a high status in the mercenary corps. He's made of steel and should have a lot of practical star technique." Jiang Shao nodded and said, "But my endurance can be upgraded. It's already of gold quality now. I have very few star slots to begin with, so I don't have the capital to waste it." "Is it really of gold quality now?" Han Jiangxue sighed softly. Yes. Jiang Shao didn't have to hide anything from Han Jiangxue. Hence, he immediately lit up his star map. The dreamy Big Dipper star map appeared vaguely on his body, and the second star slot was emitting a faint golden light. Han Jiangxue stared at the gold-quality star slot with a slightly dazed gaze. "My brother didn't lie indeed. Indeed, he has godlike special abilities," Han Jiangxue murmured. "In the future, you have to be careful about lighting up your star map." Jiang Shao smiled and said nonchalantly, "I'm already used to hiding. Don't worry. Remember when we were in the holy ground? No matter how dangerous it was, I knew how to protect myself and didn't light up the star map." Han Jiangxue sighed and said, "Fortunately, you're not a rules awakened." Jiang Shao said, "By the way, Second Last and I have slaughtered similar mercenaries before. According to our current physical strength, it would be difficult for us to break through this corpse's defense." Han Jiangxue pondered for a moment and nodded. "That's a problem. The siblings were staring at a treasure trove, but they didn't have the ability to open it. Wow. He felt terrible. Before going to the holy ground, our team killed a few mercenaries and obtained 4-star bead. You can take a look at the star techniques inside. Han Jiangxue took out 4-star beads from Sky Smasher and handed them to Jiang Shao. She had obtained those star beads when she broke out of the encirclement. There are exactly 4-star beads for the 4 members of our team. Choose one first, Han Jiangxue said. Jiang Shao grabbed the star beads that were emitting a faint glow, after which a large amount of information surged into his mind. Unsurprisingly, they all started with the word mud. There were a bunch of offensive star techniques and control-type star techniques that required him to connect to the soil. For someone like Jiang Shao who had very few star slots, it was indeed a little difficult for him. How are these star techniques? Good, of course they're good. However, Jiang Shao was a little reluctant to give up his star slots. Firstly, Jiang Shao didn't think that he would be going to Russia in the near future. He didn't think that going to Russia to carry out missions would be the norm if he joined a team after graduating from high school. From the perspective of large quantity, Jiang Shao felt that these star techniques were inferior to the star techniques of the white ghouls. After experiencing the baptism of gold-quality green glow, Jiang Shao had completely recognized the truth. Since the star beads were not easy to obtain, Jiang Shao might as well go to the trading firm to look for star beads that were extremely cheap and could be purchased in bulk. As long as the attributes of the star beads were not bad, they would become one of the remaining 6 star slots that Jiang Shao had. Faced with the silver-quality star techniques, Jiang Shao shook his head and said, "I don't feel any medical star techniques." "Okay," Han Jiangxue answered calmly, seemingly having expected that outcome. "If nothing goes wrong, these are all star beads of the galaxy stage awakened, which will be very helpful for you to break through to the nebula stage." "Giving them to me would be a waste," Jiang Shao said. "I'll give you this one and see if it can help you break through to the middle of the nebula stage. If it doesn't work, you can keep one for yourself. It'll be even better if you break through. You can keep it and continue to help you break through when you're in the late nebula stage." "Xiaopi." Han Jiangxue looked at Jiang Shao quietly, feeling a little touched. "If we want to win the Beijiang Provincial High School League safely, we really have to improve our strength," Han Jiangxue said softly. Jiang Shao picked out 2 star beads of the 12 and 13 star techniques and handed them to Han Jiangxue. "Okay, of course I hope that you become stronger." Han Jiangxue leaned forward and reached out to rub Jiang Zhao's head. Jiang Shao took a step back and thought to himself, "There's a corpse lying in the room. Can you not make the atmosphere so warm? It feels so weird." Jiang Shao frowned and pondered. "What should I do with this guy?" Han Jiangxue hesitated for a moment and said, "Why don't we give it to Xia Yan and get her father to tear the head apart? It seems that we can only—" Jiang Zhao's eyes suddenly lit up and he looked up at Han Jiangxue with a burning gaze. Han Jiangxue subconsciously tugged her white nightgown down to cover her long and beautiful legs. Jiang Shao was speechless. Han Jiangxue said, "Speak." "Activate Sky Smasher," Jiang Shao said. "Okay." Han Jiangxue waved her hand casually, and layers of space overlapped in front of Jiang Zhao's door, like the reflection of a shattered mirror. The scene was rather magical. Jiang Shao dragged the corpse's hands and threw them into Sky Smasher. However, he did not let go. Jiang Shao continuously adjusted the angle and distance, and threw the corpse's hands in too. However, he grabbed the corpse's head and slowly moved it outward. When the corpse's entire body disappeared in Sky Smasher, leaving only the head on Earth, Jiang Shao turned to look at Han Jiangxue and said, "Close Sky Smasher." Han Jiangxue's beautiful eyes glistened as she stared at Jiang Shao quietly, making him feel uncomfortable. "Little Jiangxue?" Jiang Shao used the wavy skin technique, again to resolve the awkwardness. Han Jiangxue glared at Jiang Shao and said, My father's surname is Han and my mother's surname is Jiang. My first name is Shui. Jiang Shao smacked his lips and said, "Don't mention my name to me. Don't you know the origin of my name?" Han Jiangshu smirked and seemed to have thought of the golden retriever that liked to laugh. She quickly put away Sky Smasher. Screech, the gold-quality Sky Smasher, was a space backpack that could kill, but it was forcefully turned into a dimensional space / by the siblings. No matter how sturdy the corpse was, it was torn apart by the two dimensions. Jiang Shao grabbed the large head and saw that its neck had been cut off, causing blood and flesh to flow out. "Wow, let's go to the bathroom, shall we? This is too bloody." Jiang Zhao's expression was a little sullen. However, what made Jiang Shao feel even more complicated was that he seemed to have truly integrated into the awakened profession. A few months ago, he was still an ordinary person living in an ordinary world. Now, he had not only killed someone, but he was also dissecting a corpse. "Why do I feel like a butcher?" Jiang Shao muttered. However, the corpse in his hand belonged to the enemy who invaded China. Hence, Jiang Shao did not feel guilty at all. Han Jiangshua looked at Jiang Shao and was amazed by his ingenious dissection technique. Chapter 115. After coming out of the hairdresser's shop, Jiang Shao felt like he had changed and become a new person. Han Jiangshue seemed to be in a good mood, or perhaps she wanted to celebrate their escape from death. Hence, she decided to go shopping with Jiang Shao. Judging from this, Jiang Shao could tell that she was just thrifty and not very poor. The two of them walked around a few shops and Jiang Shao had already come up with a set of clothes. "I don't really understand your taste." Han Jiangshua looked at Jiang Zhao's sweater with a frown. In the end, she couldn't convince Jiang Shao or the staff member to buy it for him. He was wearing a red and white checkered hoodie and a pair of jeans. The brand was not expensive and only cost 100 yuan, which was considered cheap and comfortable. Of course, he couldn't afford to wear AJ shoes, but he could still match it with a pair of sneakers. Han Jiangshua looked at the red and white checkered hoodie in front of her and thought to herself, "Gaudy." However, Jiang Shao felt that a 16-year-old should act like one. Not only did he have to be carefree, but he also had to be recognizable at a glance. Jiang Shao felt that there was a need for him to sell some star beads. If he was lucky enough to encounter a white ghoul, which again when he went to the snowfield next time, he would have to keep a white ghoul which star bead and sell it at the trading firm. He would only feel more secure if he had money in his pocket. Jiang Shao was not an ordinary awakened, and he did not need to pay 50,000 yuan to enter the snowfield. Besides, his team was strong enough. Although the chances of encountering a white ghoul which were low, they would definitely run into one. Jiang Shao could shamelessly split the white ghoul which star bead into 4 and give it to the team. Instead, he decided to keep it for himself. TSK, perfect. 200,000 yuan seemed to be waving at him. "It's autumn. Time to change," Jiang Shao said casually. It was already the beginning of October and summer was nowhere to be seen, no matter how warm the global climate was. "By the way, did the school give us a week off?" Jiang Shao continued to shop with Han Jiangshue. She was born beautiful and tall, so she was indeed a perfect clothes rack. She looked good in everything she wore. However, Han Jiangshue seemed to be very thrifty and did not go on a shopping spree. In the end, she bought a beige trench coat. Jiang Shao sighed and thought, "What a good kid. I'll sell a white ghoul which star bead later and buy you an expensive coat." "Okay, Xia Shanhai invited us to his house for dinner tonight. Remember to call him Uncle Xia." Han Jiangshue grabbed the bag and said casually, "From tomorrow onward, I'll tutor you at home." Jiang Shao subconsciously wanted to help her take her pocket, but when he heard this, he retracted his hand again. Han Jiangshue glanced at Jiang Shao with a smirk and tossed the bag to him. The two of them walked aimlessly on Central Street. Stepping on this special stone street, they felt the beauty of life. The bustling streets were indeed able to dissipate the bone-chilling coldness of the snowfield. Summer was finally over, and the girls on the street were wearing more and more clothes. Xiao, Jiang, Jiang, and boy. Xia Xiao, Xiao and Jiang. And Xia Jiang he. And he. Xia to Xia, he, comma, I Jiang. Xia, comma, Xiao, comma. However, the estate was located in the center of Jiangbin City, and he reckoned that it wouldn't be cheap. At 6 a.m., the two of them knocked on Xia Shanhai's door, punctually under Han Jiangshue's lead. The person who opened the door was a beautiful middle-aged woman who was smiling amiably and had an outstanding aura. Jiang Xiao knew that she was Xia Yan's mother, Hexian. She was extremely friendly towards Han Jiangshue, and there seemed to be a hint of gratitude in her smile. Apart from the fondness of an elder towards an outstanding junior, she also seemed to be grateful to her benefactor. Xia Yan probably said something to her after returning home. "Hurry and come in, Jiangshue," the beautiful woman said while looking at the flamboyant child behind her. The beautiful woman was slightly stunned for a moment, but she did not show any unusual expression. She did not have the demeanor that the old couple used to have in private. Instead, she smiled and said, "Xiaopi, you've grown taller." Grown taller? Is that considered a form of politeness? It's just like when you see a female classmate and say, "You've lost weight again," regardless of the truth. The other party should be very happy, right? I've indeed grown taller. Xia Yan popped out too and walked towards Jiang Xiao. She then pressed her hand on Jiang Zhao's head and slid it down to her own forehead. Xia Yan was taken aback and a little confused. She took a step back and scanned Jiang Xiao from head to toe. After a while, she pointed at Jiang Xiao and exclaimed, "Take off your shoes." Jiang Xiao was speechless. "Child, you're blocking the door. How are they going to come in and change their shoes?" the beautiful woman asked while glaring at Xia Yan in reproach. "But you've indeed grown taller." As everyone entered the house, Xia Yan moved closer to Jiang Xiao. This time, the two of them were wearing the same slippers. Hence, no one could cheat. "Oh? I'll measure it later." Jiang Zhao's interest was piqued. He was 16 years old and was at the age where he was growing taller. If he couldn't grow taller now, it would be difficult for him in the future. Xia Shanhai was still drinking tea on the balcony and acting like the head of the family when the deranged Xia Yan brought Jiang Xiao into the house to measure his height. Fortunately, Han Jiangshue was still reliable. She went to the balcony to visit Xia Shanhai. Tsk. Net height of 174 centimeters. Xia Yan pressed Jiang Xiao against the door frame of her house, where there were many horizontal lines with the height and date written on them. "It's about the same height as I was in year 3 of middle school." Jiang Xiao chuckled and said, "You're already in year 3 of high school now. 3 years have passed and I'm about the same height as you were in year 3 of middle school." "Shut up," Xia Yan muttered and pushed Jiang Xiao away. She then stood beside the door frame and said, "Help me take a look." This time, Jiang Xiao tilted his head and looked at it, only to see that it was year 1 of high school. In the end, it was fixed at 176 centimeters. Xia Yan was probably 3 or 4 centimeters taller than when she was in year 1. "What are you waiting for? Go and find a ruler to measure it. There's one in the study table over there," Xia Yan said while looking at Jiang Xiao, who was measuring. After her height was measured, Xia Yan was much happier. The distance between the 176 centimeters horizontal line and the top of her head was 1 centimeter, 179. 1 cm. The premise was that her 176 centimeters horizontal line was real. Regardless of how elated Xia Yan was, Jiang Xiao was elated too. It seemed that during the past month in the snowfield, he had been training hard despite not eating much. Besides, under the nourishment of the star beads, his height had increased by 2 centimeters. At this rate, it wouldn't be a dream for him to be 1.8 meters tall. Did you split from your parents in year 1 of high school? Did you move out? Jiang Shao asked. Huh. Xia Yin froze for a moment and immediately thought of the height mark on the door frame. She pressed her hand against Jiang Zhao's head and rubbed it forcefully. You're indeed a little smart. Let's stop talking about this. Jiang Shao shrugged his shoulders. Judging from the tense relationship between Xia Shanhai and Xia Yan, he reckoned that Xia Yan and her father probably had a deep conflict that year. Xia Yan's mother, He Ziyun, was very gentle and kind to Jiang Shao, regardless of how she evaluated Jiang Shao in her heart. During the meal, she even specially thanked Jiang Shao for giving her the blessings. Jiang Shao secretly chuckled and thought, you should be glad that you fainted. If you were sober, you probably wouldn't thank me like this. Jiang Shao was not making wild guesses. There was a basis for it. Li Qingmei had already asked Jiang Shao several times on WeChat, saying that she wanted to have a good talk with him. Jiang Shao is such a brave person who isn't afraid of the white ghouls and mercenaries. Why would he be afraid of an ordinary woman? Without hesitation, Jiang Shao changed Li Qingmei's WeChat to Do Not Disturb mode. He still hadn't dared to reply to her yet. Before he was done with his meal, his cell phone rang again. Jiang Shao secretly took out his mobile phone and looked at his WeChat, only to discover that Li Qingmei had sent him a few more messages, and the notification was from Li Wei. 59 Tulong Street. Help me, please reply to her message. Jiang Xiaopi was dumbfounded. 59 Tulong Street. I'm going crazy because of her. Jiang Xiaopi, mischievous or not? Well, she's your girlfriend. If you don't suffer, who will? 59 Tulong Street. There were a lot of people that day, and she was indeed embarrassed. Jiang Xiaopi, mischievous. Didn't you ask me to give her my blessings? Should I blame you? Why are you blaming me? 59 Tulong Street. But it was your light that made her make strange noises. Jiang Xiaopi, mischievous or not? So you're trying to matchmake us now? 59 Tulong Street, Jiang Shao Pai. Jiang Xiaopi, mischievous or not? Love is a ray of light that makes you panic. Chapter 116. Snow was originally an ideal place for the junior awakened to train, but I didn't expect this to happen. Xia Shanhai's voice was calm and he looked at Han Jiangxue solemnly. He continued, I still have to thank Jiangxue for bringing Yanyan out. Jiang Shao put away his mobile phone and continued to gorge himself on the stewed beans and pork ribs. He almost spat out the food when he heard her address him as Yanyan. Uncle Xia, you must be joking. We only managed to get out of the predicament because we worked together. Besides, we weren't strong enough, and it was mostly thanks to the efforts of the Guardians of the Night and the Guardians, Han Jiangxue answered. I heard from Yanyan about everything you guys went through. It was indeed very dangerous. You and Xiaopi both helped a lot. If it weren't for you two, I'm afraid no one in this team would have been able to get out. Xia Shanhai shook his head and interrupted Han Jiangxue's humility. I've prepared a small gift for you too. You must accept it later. No, Uncle Xia, Han Jiangxue rejected without hesitation. Child, how many years has it been? You've never accepted our kindness. Her mother, He Ziyun, looked at Han Jiangxue lovingly and said, We know that you're very strong and we didn't deliberately help you in the past few years. However, Jiangxue, you have to know that your parents and Xia Shanhai are teammates. They're brothers who have gone through thick and thin together. Xia Shanhai waved his hand and said, Now that the two of you have become teammates with Yanyan again, you'll encounter more difficult and dangerous missions in the future. The team will only have more combat effectiveness if your strength increases. It's a good thing for both you and Yanyan. He Ziyun reached out and gently held Han Jiangxue's palm. She said, Money shouldn't be too important to you awakened. Besides, putting aside the relationship between your parents and Xia Shanhai, you can take this gift as a thank you gift. My daughter is a priceless treasure to me. I really don't know how to thank you. Why do you make it sound like Xia Yan is useless? The old couple saw the opportunity and wanted to make it up to her. Jiang Shao felt that it was all because of the relationship between Xia Shanhai and his parent. Jiang Shao wanted to see what the thank you gift was like. If it were 200 yuan, Jiang Shao would definitely be a noble and unyielding person. Absolutely not. If it was a diamond quality star bead, Jiang Shao would definitely take advantage of the situation and accept it. After all, the guest had to do as the host wished. This was the traditional virtue of the Chinese people. Xia Shanhai seemed to know what Han Jiangxue was thinking and said, "You can also think of this as an investment. It's the Xia family's investment in you and your brother. You and Yan Yan are in the same team, so don't decline it anymore. By the way, did you give Xia Yan's share to her?" Jiang Shao asked as he touched her arm and helped her out of the predicament. Han Jiangxue nodded and waved her hand, after which she took out a star bead from the overlapping space and handed it to Xia Yan. "We killed 4 Galaxy Stage mercenaries together. This belongs to you. Let's find a chance to break through to the middle of the nebula stage together." Xia Yan's eyes glistened. The star beads of creatures of other dimensions contained plenty of star techniques and star power. However, in comparison, the star beads of humans contained more star power. It was a star bead of an awakened in the galaxy stage, which was more than enough to help Xia Yan break through to the middle of the nebula stage. In fact, it was a little wasteful, and she felt that she should save it for the peak of the nebula stage before absorbing it. For a student like Xia Yan, it was difficult for her to come into contact with such incidents. The mercenary's star bead was really too precious. Of course, ideals were beautiful, but reality would be cruel. Too many people would get stuck at a certain stage of star power and be unable to improve for the rest of their lives. Take it. Compared to the Xia family, Han Jiangxue was more domineering. She tossed the star bead to Xia Yan and said, "I'll give Li Wei's share when school reopens." The 4 star beads were killed when they rushed out of the cave tunnel. The Guardians of the Night were, of course, the credit goes to the Guardians of the Night. However, they didn't ask for it, so how could Han Jiangxue possibly give it to them? In addition, Han Jiangxue had also dissected the iron-like corpse of the mercenary leader who had been thrown into Sky Smasher by second last. Jiang Shao saw the familiar gold-quality star techniques Mud River and Mud Marsh. Of course, he also found a special gold-quality star technique, Body of Steel. After weighing the pros and cons for a long time, Jiang Shao decided not to absorb the star bead in the end, because he felt that the star technique would overlap with his endurance star technique. After the quality of endurance increased, its defensive effects should not be inferior to Body of Steel. Of course, it was mainly because Jiang Shao was a weakling who only had 9 star slots. The Xia family couple smiled when they saw what was happening in front of them. They could see Han Jiangxue's attitude towards her teammates from that small gesture. It was obvious how valuable the star beads of an awakened in the galaxy stage were. He Ziyun also stood up. She initially wanted to give the siblings a thank you gift during tea after the meal, but it seemed that it was a good opportunity. He Ziyun soon returned with 2 small square boxes and placed them in front of the siblings. Jiang Shao was filled with complicated emotions. If there's a diamond ring in the red square box in front of me, what should I do? Should I agree to this marriage or not? Previously at home, Xia Yan had taught Jiang Shao a lesson angrily and said that Xia Shanhai had agreed to let her be with him. Xia Yan widened her eyes and blinked. Acting cute, she said, "Take it, Shue. We're a team, and the stronger we are, the better we can get. Only then can we better deal with danger. Just like Xia. My dad said we're bound together." Han Jiangxue opened the red square box, only to see that it wasn't a diamond ring. Instead, it was a star bead. If one were to hold it in their hands and feel it carefully, they would be able to tell that it was a gold-quality star bead based on the amount of star power contained in it. Han Jiangxue put the star bead back into the small box and said, "This gift is too precious." Jiang Zhao's heart sank and he thought, "Don't, my prideful little Jiangxue. At this moment, we should go along with the host's wishes. We can't reject her kindness. Xia Yan only managed to escape with our help. Her life is worth more than just 2 gold-quality star beads." Jiang Shao opened the small square box in front of him, only to see that it was indeed a gold-quality star bead. Xia Yan said, "My dad has already given it to me as a reward for surviving the calamity. I haven't absorbed it yet, so I'm going to wait for a good opportunity to see if I can get a gold-quality star technique." Xia Shanhai was really frightened this time. Although he didn't show it on the surface, he had pondered over the painful experience during the month-long wait and was filled with regret. He probably wouldn't be able to forget the feeling of worry for the rest of his life. Hence, Xia Shanhai went all out and asked his former colleagues from the Wasteland Reclaimers for a few gold-quality star bead. Pride was really not as important as his daughter's life. Jiang Shao stretched his finger out and gently touched the gold-quality star bead. Xia Shanhai's expression did not change, but he was amused and annoyed deep down. "What's this? This star bead isn't a toad. It won't jump if you touch it." As soon as Jiang Shao touched the star bead, a piece of information appeared in his mind. At the next moment, Jiang Shao couldn't help but pant. Gold quality medical star technique? Oh my god! This is too exciting, isn't it? You shouldn't be called Xia Shanhai, you should be called Xia Shueben. Do these 2 old people really treat me as their son-in-law? Jiang Shao turned to look at Xia Yan. "I'll treat you as my star pet." Chapter 117. White Crown Star Bead Gold Quality Star Techniques 1. Pure White Scepter. Create a scepter with star power and restore the vitality of units within a certain range. The duration of the scepter's effect is determined by the user's star power. Gold, upgradable, gray-white scepter. Create a scepter with star power and restore star power within a certain range. The duration of the scepter's effect is determined by the user's star power. Gold, upgradable. Do you want to absorb them together? Oh my god, this is incredible! Jiang Shao retracted his finger, feeling a little conflicted. Is this the star technique that teacher Hai Tianqing used before? Jiang Shao had seen the scepter that emitted white light in the holy ground. His vitality had also been restored by the star technique before, and it felt great. However, there was also a problem. The star technique called Pure White Scepter seemed to overlap with his Blessing Star technique. Although the Pure White Scepter was an area of effect star technique that could heal many people at the same time, the duration of the scepter's duration was also freely controlled by the user. However, Jiang Shao felt that as long as the quality of his Blessing Star technique continued to increase, the effect would definitely not be inferior to that of the Pure White Scepter. Jiang Shao was in a team of 4 and was not part of the Guardians. Hence, the range of star techniques did not seem to be practical. The second one was called the Ash White Scepter? It can restore star power? As the user of the scepter, Jiang Shao would definitely be within the range of the scepter. So, the user can also recover star power? It seemed to be a good star technique, but as long as there were sufficient star beads, the star technique seemed to be replaceable. The more serious problem was that there was no star technique similar to imprint in the star bead. That was to say, the scepter couldn't restore vitality and star power to specific targets according to the mark. Within the range of influence of the scepter, everyone's vitality and star power would be restored. Wouldn't the enemy be delighted? Such a wide-range star technique would probably have to be used in military battles in order to show its effect. For Jiang Zhao's team of 4, they weren't as domineering as he imagined. Jiang Shao did not know the specific range of the scepter's radiation, but according to the pure white scepter that Hai Tianqing had inserted, the entire holy ground was covered. As a gold-quality star technique, its range was definitely not small. It was indeed a good star technique that was of high quality and had strong effect. After thinking about it, Jiang Shao finally decided to give up on the star bead. He only had 6 star slots left in his star map, and he still wanted a control-type star technique, as well as an output star technique that could truly kill and kill. Blessings and Bell were more than enough to heal this 4-man team. After a while, he would discuss it with Han Jiangxue and go to the dimensional space near the volcanoes. The 10 lava ghoul which star beads would be enough to upgrade Bell and Imprint to gold quality. By then, Jiang Zhao's milk would be even more abundant. It comes from the Zhongmen grassland, a special dimensional space where there are some humanoid creatures of other dimensions. This star bead comes from the brain of White Crown. It has 2 scepter-type star techniques that can restore the vitality and star power of teammate. Compared to the blessing of the white ghoul which, it's much more effective, Xia Shanhai explained while looking at Jiang Shao. Why do you say that the dimensional space is special? Aren't they all special? Jiang Shao asked. It's too dangerous there and it's not open to the public. Only some special troops can enter, so the space is very special and so is this star bead. Although Xia Shanhai's expression did not change, he seemed to be rather smug. That meant that the star bead was precious. However, to Jiang Shao, it was a death sentence for the star bead. No matter how high its quality was or how effective its effects were, Jiang Shao would not want it if it was extremely rare. The more precious something was, the more Jiang Shao could not look at it. The cheaper and more abundant it was, the more Jiang Shao had to pounce on it to snatch it. It's too precious, I can't take it. Jiang Shao said as he pushed the small square box forward and reached out to grab Han Jiangshue's Blue Crown Star Bead Gold Quality, Star Technique. 1. Light Blue Scepter. Creates a scepter with star power that will attack the units within a certain range. The duration of the scepter's duration is determined by the user's star power. Gold Quality, Upgradable. 2. Dark Blue Scepter. Creates and controls a scepter with star power that will attack specific targets with thunder and lightning. The thunder and lightning will scatter in all directions and continue to damage the surrounding units. The duration of the scepter's duration is determined by the user's star power. Gold Quality, Upgradable. Do you want to absorb them together? A range star technique and a single target star technique? Besides, both star techniques have to be summoned in the form of a scepter. The so-called dark blue scepter seemed to be more controllable than the light blue scepter. At the very least, it would not accidentally hurt his teammates under the control of star power. The dark blue scepter and the light blue scepter were both gold quality star technique. In other words, although they were different in form, their power should be similar. Even if one of them was more powerful, it would at most be a quantitative change. There shouldn't be a qualitative difference. Xiaopi. Xia Shanhai pretended to be unhappy and was about to say something, but Jiang Shao changed the topic. It's hard to turn down your hospitality. Why don't we take one? Jiang Shao suddenly said. Xia Shanhai was speechless. To Jiang Shao, the more precious a star bead was, the less valuable it would be. However, to Han Jiangxue, a normal awakened, the precious star bead was enough to occupy one of her star slots. Be it light blue or dark blue, if Han Jiangxue could absorb them, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Jiang Shao said, Sister, don't make things difficult for uncle and auntie. Let's just take one. I'm just a rookie in the Stardust stage, and it would be a waste of a gold-quality star bead. There's not much chance of success. However, you're different. Your strength and qualifications are all there. You've already absorbed a gold-quality star technique. Since you have one, you can definitely get a second one. Jiang Shao continued. This time, you can give it a try when you break through to the middle of the nebula stage. If you're afraid of wasting it, you can wait until our team absorbs it before the National League. By then, you should be stronger and get a good ranking. You'll get bonus points for the exam, and we'll all have a better future. Han Jiangxue looked at Jiang Shao silently. No one could guess what she was thinking. It was because she was recalling the way he addressed her as sister, just now. How long has it been? How many months has it been? She hadn't heard Jiang Shao address her as sister for a long time. He would usually call her by her name, and sometimes he would even address her as little Jiangxue because he was so mischievous. Han Jiangxue froze in shock when she suddenly heard him address her as sister. Jiang Shao felt that if he hadn't wanted to put on an act in front of the Xia couple, he wouldn't have addressed her that way. Seeing that Han Jiangxue was staring at him in a daze, Jiang Shao stretched out his 5 fingers and waved them in front of her. Sister! Okay. Han Jiangxue subconsciously agreed to Jiang Zhao's request, seemingly because her subconscious was causing her to agree to her brother's request. Immediately afterwards, Han Jiangxue realized that something was amiss and her fair and tender face was filled with confusion. She asked softly, "What did you say to me just now?" This time, it was Jiang Zhao's turn to be dumbfounded. Is this still my cold and aloof sister? Why is she so naturally adorable? She's so cute and muddle-headed. Oh my God, women! Chapter 118. Jiang Shao did not want the white crown star bead, partly because of the overlapping star techniques and the fact that the star technique could not differentiate between friend and foe. If he wanted to separate the effects of the star techniques, he would probably have to waste another star slot to absorb the related star technique. He had fewer star slots, so he had to choose carefully. On the other hand, if it was a star technique that could restore one's health and mana, Jiang Shao already had a better choice. Although Jiang Shao did not take the rare and precious star bead, Han Jiangxue still accepted the blue-crowned gold quality star bead at his request. However, she planned to absorb it only after she became stronger. After all, there was a higher chance of absorbing gold quality star beads in the galaxy stage. There were only 3 days left before he had to go back to school. Jiang Shao initially thought that the holidays were the best thing. However, Han Jiangxue used her actions to show Jiang Shao what a small dining table was. Jiang Shao began to despise Xia Yan again because Xia Yan stuffed a copy of 3 Years of Simulation of the 5-year college entrance examination into Jiang Zhao's hands during the banquet that night. To be honest, this exercise was indeed a little difficult. It simply did not match the difficulty of the awakened student's exam. Even if he had to kneel, he had to finish copying the extracurricular books that he had chosen. Jiang Shao couldn't blame himself for not choosing Evolution of Devouring. In the past few days, Jiang Shao had received many messages of concern, including the Zhu brothers, the mixed-race Elena, and the lowly Lu Ku from Year 1. Even the correspondent, Lu Bufan, had been asking about Jiang Zhao's well-being, making him feel a little uncomfortable. The flat-top brothers' hairstyles were much flatter, Elena was much prettier, and Lolita Lu Ku seemed to have thought things through a lot. It was said that she had started training hard. It was unknown if Su Ro, the live streamer seated in front of him, had said something, or if she accidentally let it slip during the live stream. Anyway, there was a group of people who sent their regards to Jiang Zhao's Weibo. As far as the eye could see, it was actually a sea of small candles and icons of hands clasped together. Many of them were praying for his safe return. Jiang Shao didn't know if he should feel touched or upset. Jiang Shao thought about it for a while and posted a selfie of himself doing the exercises of May 3rd, pretending to be studying hard. He then added a caption, Jiang Xiaopi, mischievous or not, just from Huawei, Meimong C199. I love learning. Learning makes me happy. However, The Weibo post did not seem to have the effect of reporting his safety. Instead, it seemed to have aroused public anger. In the comments section below, there were even more little candle-like icons. At first, everyone was praying for Jiang Shao to return safely. Now, they were all praying that Jiang Shao would behave himself. Xia Yan's reply was pushed to the top of the list. Hong Yan, you only know how to study. What's the use of studying? Could learning bring success? At the thought of this, Jiang Shao closed the Encyclopedia of Dimensions in his hand. Today was the day that Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan had agreed to break through together. Both of them were in the middle of the nebula stage and had been stuck at this stage for a long time. They had accumulated enough experience and abundant star power. All they needed was an opportunity to break through. The mercenaries' star beads gave them a chance to break through. The two of them decided to find a beautiful place to break through. Yes, the backyard of Xia Yan's house. Of course, Jiang Shao was interested in being a spectator. He had used his skill points to advance to the next few stages of star power. He wondered if there would be earth-shattering effects if a normal awakened broke through. Would it attract lightning? Would it be like the Tribulation Transcendence? Jiang Shao was waiting to see. Strictly speaking, he was also at the stage of star power. He was now at Stardust Stage Level 9, which should be considered the peak of the Stardust stage for normal awakened. One skill point would allow Jiang Shao to advance to the early nebula stage. However, Jiang Zhao's foundation was too weak. When he was in the snowfield, star power would fill his body when he upgraded with star power. Jiang Shao would use the upgrade again and again to regenerate his star power, causing him to be like an empty shell now. On the surface, he was at the peak of the Stardust stage, but in fact, he couldn't support such a high level of star power. If he took too big a step, he would easily pull his testicles. Jiang Shao didn't want to be a lone warrior. Hence, he decided to suppress his speed of advancement. At this moment, Jiang Shao was like a hamster that was overjoyed at the 104 skill points in his pocket. He had finally found the true meaning of life. He had become a happy healer. In the afternoon, Han Jiangxue brought Jiang Shao out of the house after being bombarded by Xia Yan's phone calls. At the entrance of the estate, they saw Xia Yan driving the Land Rover again. She looked extremely lazy and leaned against the hood of the car. Her chestnut-colored hair was a little messy, and she was dressed in a black trench coat. She looked like a goddess. Unfortunately, people could only see her gorgeous appearance and hot figure. However, they didn't know that she was just a husky. As usual, Xia Yan smiled at Han Jiangxue and ignored Jiang Shao at all. In response, Jiang Shao said, "Pretend. Continue pretending. I wonder who was the first to reply to my Weibo post." On the way home, Xia Yan suddenly changed the topic. "By the way, Xiaopi." Jiang Shao stared at the street outside the car window and seemed to be daydreaming. Xia Yan looked at Jiang Shao in the rearview mirror and said, "After we get home, let's go to the basement to test it out. I need to understand your gold-quality green glow." What's there to understand? However, the introduction of Jiang Zhao's green glow star technique had indeed changed. It was originally strong attack on the enemy, increase the damage of green glow, and add a slight repelling effect. Now the introduction had become additional repelling effect, and the word slight had been removed. Although there were no other changes, Jiang Shao could feel that the damage caused by green glow had increased. We're a team, we need to understand each other. I want to experience the effects of the gold-quality green glow. If it's strong enough, our team might have more battle ideas. Xia Yan turned to look at Han Jiangxue, who was seated in the front passenger seat. "What do you think? Let him be the vanguard?" Han Jiangxue asked with a frown. Xia Yan shook her head and said, "There's no need for that. After all, Li Wei and I are still in the team. It's not his turn to be a weakling. However, as a medical awakened, He has always been the focus of everyone's attention and the focus of every opponent's attack. Yeah, that's true. Han Jiangxue nodded in agreement. Why don't you teach me swordsmanship? Jiang Shao asked as he sat in the same seat. This time, Xia Yan's response was completely different from before. She stared at Jiang Shao in the rearview mirror and asked, "Do you really want to learn? Can't green glow be attached to equipment?" Jiang Shao continued, "Besides, I've been to the snowfield so many times and I still feel that it's better to have a weapon. When green glow was still in silver quality, I had no choice but to kill the white ghouls with a dagger." Upon hearing this, Han Jiangshue's eyes turned gloomy. Every time she thought about how she got separated from Jiang Shao in the snowfield, she would blame herself for letting him face the dangerous world alone. After all, he was a medical awakened. Although Han Jiangxue seemed to want Jiang Shao to be all-round on the surface, in reality, he was still far from that. If he didn't have a strong teammate, Jiang Shao would really have a hard time in the snowfield. Jiang Shao indeed had too few offensive methods. Don't even think about using firearms in China. I'm looking for a suitable cold weapon. As for daggers, they're just SOSO. Jiang Shao scratched his head and continued, "Your sword is especially long. I think if you practice it well, you'll have an advantage when fighting against creatures of other dimensions." "Since you want to learn, I have no problem with that," Xia Yan said as she looked at Han Jiangxue inquisitively. "Watch the road," Han Jiangxue said coldly. After remaining silent for a while, she said, "Sure. I'll teach you then." Think about covering the giant sword with gold-quality green glow. It should have a miraculous effect, right? Even if you can't break the opponent's defense, you'll be able to send them flying with one swing of the sword. For you, keeping a distance from the enemy is the right way to think, Xia Yan said thoughtfully. However, Xia Yan changed the topic and continued, "You can learn it, but my swordsmanship is a little radical. I'm afraid that you'll forget who you are." "Radical? You mean reckless? That's awesome. I love it the most." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.